Chapter 1488. The first time heavy snow flew past Wang Sheng, the Dai family was caught off guard and didn't see it. Hence, they didn't know about the existence of heavy snow. However, when Wang Sheng turned the tables on them, they were able to clearly see what was going on. Other than Wang Sheng's heavy sniper crossbow, only other flying mounts could suppress flying mounts. Hence, the experts of the Dai family immediately tried to control their flying mounts. However, when the signal was sent to the beast tamers controlling the flying mounts, the beast tamers on the flying mounts wanted to cry, but had no tears. Originally, the flying mounts they were controlling were still in the air. However, from the moment Wang Sheng disappeared, the flying mounts seemed to have sensed something terrifying and began to descend rapidly. It was as if they were falling from the sky, rapidly descending to the ground. No matter how the beast tamers commanded, the flying mounts seemed to have met their natural enemy. They buried their heads in the snow and trembled all over. Not to mention taking off, they didn't even dare to move. How could it be possible for the beast tamers to send a signal from afar to command their flying mounts to rescue them? As beast tamers, of course, they could sense the emotions of the flying mounts. At this moment, they were basically trembling in fear. They were so afraid that they didn't even dare to move. Fly. What kind of joke was this? Sometimes, the senses of animals were much stronger than that of humans. Human experts couldn't sense the terrifying aura of heavy snow, but it was different for monsters. It was an innate instinct when facing an undefeatable enemy. No matter how heavy snow hid his aura, they could still sense it. Heavy snow had entered the legendary realm for many years longer than anyone present. Its strong instincts allowed it to completely unleash the strength of a legendary realm expert. In addition, Wang Sheng, who was proficient in tactics and could even assist in attacking, was beside him. The Dai family experts below became easy targets for heavy snow. When the sixth expert fell to the ground, the experts of the Dai family had already gathered together. They had no choice but to gather together. If they fought alone, they would only be easily killed. The experts of the Dai family once again felt the weakness of being threatened by the monsters in the core of the land of Thousand Despair. They hadn't experienced such a feeling ever since they entered the legendary realm. Even when facing the unsealed super monsters in the iceberg, they didn't feel this way. Of course, those super monsters had only been unsealed for a few years before they were killed. They were surrounded and killed before they could fully grasp their strength. This was completely different from heavy snow. Heavy snow had dominated the glacier basin for almost 100 years. Even if Uncle Lee was alive, he probably wouldn't dare to challenge heavy snow. Among all the people Wang Sheng knew, that old Taoist Ling, Su, was probably only one would dare to say that he could defeat heavy snow. Even LV Wenho and Ling. The old man knew that there was no point in asking Wang Sheng for mercy. Mountain. Wang Sheng and Ling Snow Mountain and Old. Ling and Ling Long Snow Mountain, Long Old Sheng Wang, family, and Wang Lian was. The old man in charge knew that there was no point in begging for mercy from Wang Sheng. When he said that he didn't intend to keep his promise, Wang Sheng would definitely kill all of them if he had the ability. If he had known that Wang Sheng had such a powerful flying mount, the old man wouldn't have said that. Wouldn't it have been better to leave with at least 2 secrets that others didn't know? For the Dai family, it would have been a preemptive opportunity. They knew how to make arrangements in advance. Why did he have to be greedy and bring Wang Sheng back, especially when he didn't keep his promise? Now, the old man regretted it so much that he wanted to die, but it was all too late. He didn't have the ability to go back and change the past. There was no medicine for regret in this world. It was also Wang Sheng's fault. If he had such a powerful flying mount, he could have just shown it and flown away. Why did he have to run on the ground for a day and a night to confuse people? This was simply a scam to the point of death. Now, it was too late to say anything. They could only gather together and hope that they could block the powerful demonic beast's attack. When their own flying mounts arrived, a few of them could attack one, and they might be able to escape. Seeing this, Wang Sheng ordered heavy snow to deal with the flying mounts. In order to surround Wang Sheng, most of the experts were dispatched. Only one beast tamer was left to take care of the flying mounts. It was too easy to deal with them now. None of the flying mounts dared to resist. Heavy Snow's flying speed was fast, and he could cover a distance of dozens of miles in a short time. Within a few minutes, all 8 of the beast tamers on the flying mounts had perished. As for the flying mounts, they were all easily controlled by Wang Sheng. The people gathered together didn't wait for Wang Sheng's attack for a long time. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't have Wang Sheng's good eyesight, and they didn't have binoculars to use. This unbearable weight increased the psychological pressure on them. After waiting for another 20 minutes, it seemed like nothing had happened. Everyone was even more bewildered. Look at the sky. Suddenly, someone realized something was wrong. He pointed at the sky and shouted. Everyone looked up. 8 flying mounts were flying towards them from all directions. Seeing this, the old man in the lead finally let out a sigh of relief. His mounts were coming. But the strange thing was, why were the flying mounts flying so high? Even when the first flying mount was above them, they were still puzzled. Why was it flying above them, but not landing? While they were still in shock and bewilderment, the flying mount flipped nimbly in the air, and the huge block of ice that was originally on its back smashed down towards them from above. Even an idiot would know that something had happened. Everyone hurriedly dodged. Just looking at the huge block of ice, it was obvious that it was heavy. It was at least 1,000 kilograms. But falling from such a high place wasn't something a human could withstand. Once they dodged, it was inevitable that they wouldn't be able to coordinate well enough. With a flash of white light, Heavy Arrow arrived as promised, and the 3 experts were once again killed. After the same situation happened twice, the old man in the middle knew that they wouldn't be able to survive if they gathered together. They couldn't escape. Being nibbled away bit by bit wasn't a solution. They had to think of another way. Duke Changsheng, the old man shouted at the sky. You want a fair fight? You can die without regrets. Is 20 against 1 fair? Wang Sheng's voice came from all directions. No one could tell where Wang Sheng was. At this moment, there were still more than 20 experts in the Dai clan. Even the old man felt embarrassed when he heard Wang Sheng's words. But their lives were more important now. They couldn't care about anything else. Duke Changsheng, if anything happens to us, the capital's Duke Changsheng residents will be massacred. The old man gritted his teeth and shouted at the sky. Chapter 1489. Go. Remember to tell them to have a good meal before you go. Wang Sheng's voice came from the sky. He did not sound nervous at all. His tone was calm, as if he was really looking forward to their arrival. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that you might not be able to contact them. Wang Sheng seemed to have suddenly remembered something. His voice came again. If they die of hunger when they leave, they can't blame anyone else. What a joke. Threatening Wang Sheng with Duke Changsheng residents? Not to mention the loyal and brave beauties in the residence. Just the old Taoist Ling Su alone. Once the old Taoist was done with his business, he would definitely move into Duke Changsheng residence. If anyone dared to act ruthlessly against the old Taoist in the capital, the old Taoist would definitely kill them all. The imperial family and Laojun Temple would definitely not tolerate such a thing in the capital. Not to mention the huge benefits involved in Li Jinfang. The 8 great clans themselves did not dare to touch it easily. The 8 great clans had slowly figured out their intentions. If anyone dared to touch Li Jinfang, they would not even need to send assassins to fight back. They only needed to say a few words, and the banknotes would become waste paper. After all, they had controlled the world for hundreds of years. The 8 great clans still had a group of outstanding management talents. Even if they did not see it at the time, they could see it now. It was a fait accompli. They had to accept it, even if they did not want to. Why was it that when Mayor raised their conditions this time, the 8 great clans only asked for an additional batch of banknotes to be issued? It was because they could see the implications. They knew that the 8 great clans could not leave Li Jinfang. That was why they used this method to add another layer of insurance for Mei and Li Jinfang. Even though it was still called Li Jinfang, it was clearly the central bank on Earth. It had the right to issue banknotes. If anyone dared to attack such a powerful organization, did they know how to spell the word death? Under such circumstances, would the Dai clan dare to touch a single hair on Li Jinfeng? Even if they had 10 guts. There was even no need for old Taoist Ling Su to make a move. If there were any experts who dared to attack Duke Chongqing's residence, they would be annihilated by the experts of various families in the capital. There was only one use for this group of people from the Dai clan to die here without sending any news back, and that was to let the higher-ups of the Dai clan know that Wang Sheng had indeed been here. Then there was nothing more. Wang Sheng was here to look for heavy snow. With heavy snow, Wang Sheng didn't have to worry about flying mounts. Previously, Wang Sheng didn't dare to use the gliders because he knew that the various families already had flying mounts. Wang Sheng did not dare to guarantee that he could control all the flying demonic beasts. Therefore, finding heavy snow was the safest choice. With the heavy snow, Wang Sheng could go wherever he wanted without any restrictions. Safe, efficient, and secretive. From now on, no one would be able to find Wang Sheng's whereabouts. There would be no possibility of this ambush happening. These people from the Dai clan must die. Wang Sheng would never let them leak that Lin Ling was kidnapped. He had to fight for enough time for Lin Ling to recover peacefully. As long as Lin Xiu recovered, who in the world could trap her? While the Dai clan was struggling to survive, the various forces under the glacier lake were in a different mood. The seal of the first ancestor master was unlocked, but his cultivation level was so high that it made people despair. Legendary realm masters were just ants in front of him. Although there were more than 1,000 people in the lava lake, if they really fought, 90% of the forces would die to kill that ancestor master. What was worth rejoicing was that this ancestor master was not a bloodthirsty person. What was even more fortunate was that he was not the ancestor of some force that was annihilated. He was the ancestor of a small sect called Danyang Valley that was allowed to participate. Knowing that it was their ancestor, the current valley leader of Danyang Valley was overjoyed and almost lost his composure on the spot. He brought his 2 elders and disciples and went up to bow. Then, he began to respectfully introduce the current situation and what happened in the past 500 years to his ancestor. The band definitely needed to rest. They couldn't continue working immediately. Moreover, no one dared to work with great fanfare, for fear that the super expert ancestor would be dissatisfied. At this moment, the major families were very unhappy. Why wasn't their ancestor the first to unlock the seal? If that was really the case, wouldn't they be able to give orders and dominate the world? As long as they had such a powerful ancestor, was there a need to unlock the seal of the other families? Each family had their own plans, but no one dared to show it now. The person in charge now was the supermaster of Danyang Valley, not the major families. The great grandmaster musicians were resting, while the higher-ups of all parties were carefully waiting for the movements of the Danyang Valley. Ever since that supermaster took control of the situation, their words couldn't be heard at all. No one knew what the outcome would be. Everyone was very uneasy. For an entire day, everyone spent their time in this kind of panic and unease, not knowing what the future held for them. For the first time, the higher-ups of the 8 major families felt the fear of losing control. Finally, that ancestor made a decision. He told everyone to prepare to unlock the second seal. After hearing this, all the higher-ups relaxed, and the sound of people heaving a sigh of relief could be heard. Although Danyang Valley didn't explain the reason, everyone knew that Lin Ling's departure made this supermaster suppress his desire to control the world. He had no choice but to release other masters to deal with Lin Ling together. This was a good thing, but it also made everyone more uneasy. Just how strong was Lin Ling that such a terrifying ancestor didn't dare to face her alone? With the guidance of an ancestor, everyone could do things more specifically. At least, he knew which family the masters at which position belonged to. He could guide everyone to unlock the remaining masters first. When more masters came out, they would work together to deal with those who had no more. However, they still needed the help of the band to unlock the seal. Although the cultivation of the ancestor experts was strong, if one person wanted to open a sealing array formation, they would need to consume at least 90% of their strength. With so many juniors who didn't know their personalities, Even if they were his own juniors, he didn't dare to let his guard down and put his life in the hands of others. Plus, he had a righteous reason. If the second master wasn't balanced by him, if the other party wasn't as righteous as him, how would the juniors face him? With this reason, no one dared to object. Not to mention that he had a very legitimate reason. Even if there was no explanation, who would dare to force him to make a move? Chapter 1490. The Grandmaster Band rested for 2 days before resuming. They had learned to take turns to rest during the performance, so they were no longer in a state of exhaustion after playing for a few days and nights at a time. Even the conductor, Master Yu, found a break between each musician's solos, so they were not too weak. 2 days was enough for them to recover. This time, the 8 great families were already well behaved. They no longer sent people who had no hope of advancing to the next level to waste the quota. If 6 people had not advanced the last time, there would have been no way to use up so much of the sealing array. Moreover, this was only possible after the senior expert broke free from the sealing array formation. If the quota was wasted again, the people from the other small forces present would not be able to bear it. If it was in the past, the 8 great families could do whatever they wanted. What was wrong with sending a few people to improve their cultivation? But now, with the addition of Senior Chun from the Danyang Valley, things were naturally different. In particular, Senior Chun from the Danyang Valley also wanted to experience the auxiliary effect of music on cultivation, so he took up a quota himself. If it made him unhappy, wouldn't it be troublesome? Therefore, this time, the 8 great families obediently gave up all the quotas to the small sects and forces. There were a total of 9 people. Together with Senior Chun from the Danyang Valley, they felt the Grandmaster Band's performance around the sealing array. Senior Chun didn't say who was sealed in the sealing spell formation. The patriarchs of the 8 great clans were actually very angry, but also very helpless. They really had no choice but to accept this arrangement. Other than the people from the Danyang Valley, no one knew who was inside. This made them feel a little more balanced. The only thing they could be sure of was that there were no people inside who had been destroyed. When the music started, Senior Chun was a little surprised. But after all, his cultivation was high, so he quickly immersed himself in enjoying the rhythm of the music. He followed the rhythm of the music and entered a state of cultivation. Music could really drive the rhythm of cultivation. This was something he had never thought of or experienced in the 500 years he was in the sealing array. His descendants had indeed been improving. Even music, which was used for enjoyment in the past, could be used to assist in cultivation. It was very creative. But what surprised him even more was what happened next. When the first expert entered a state of breakthrough, a small mass of spirit chi formed in the entire area. This ball of spirit chi was not exclusive to the advanced expert. Even Senior Chun could obtain some surging spirit chi from it to replenish himself. The spirit chi of heaven and earth triggered by a junior's advancement only surprised Senior Chun for a moment. However, when the remaining 8 experts all entered a state of breakthrough and triggered an even larger spiritual energy mass, everything changed. Senior Chun found that the rhythm of his cultivation had been taken away by the rhythm of the music, and he couldn't help but be shocked. These were merely 20 musicians of the 9th stage realm, plus 9 experts of the 9th stage realm who had broken through to the legendary realm. How could they be so powerful? Even though he was already being brought along to cultivate, Senior Chun was still very happy to find that as long as he was willing, he could break away from this cultivation rhythm at any time. This made him feel much more at ease. However, Senior Chun was also very glad that there were only a few people. If there were dozens of such advanced experts, he was afraid that it would be impossible for him to break away from his cultivation rhythm. The younger generation's research on cultivation was not any worse than their cultivation in the sealing array formation. It seemed like he had to carefully study the effects of this music. This time, 9 experts advanced. Compared to the 6 people in the first sealing array formation, it was half the number, and the effect was also very significant. Several high-level representatives of the various families who were observing from the outside could clearly see that the speed at which the sealing array formation melted at the beginning was a few times faster than the first time. The large mass of spirit chi lasted for 4 days and 4 nights, which was an eye-opener for Senior Chun. Although he still maintained a strong combat power, after all, he had been frozen in the ceiling array formation for 500 years. There was always some discomfort and damage to his body. However, the large mass of spirit chi had effectively replenished him. Speaking of which, at least half of the large mass of spirit chi formed by the 9 people was absorbed by Senior Chun after he discovered the benefits. This also caused the speed at which the icicles melted to decrease rapidly. It was even slower than the first time. Several representatives who were observing from the outside of the array formation naturally understood the reason, but they couldn't say anything. They could only look on helplessly with heartache. There was no other way. They couldn't afford to offend Senior Chun, so they could only let their own disciples suffer. Inevitably, the first performance wasn't able to completely break the ceiling array formation. This time, the layer of ice that was left was thick enough. It was almost 2 feet thick. With this thickness, the experts inside would definitely not be able to come out without exhausting all their strength. And in a situation where the people outside didn't know whether they were enemies or allies, the experts inside would definitely not expend their own strength to break the seal. Therefore, the second performance was naturally performed. Mayer effortlessly received double the compensation. All in all, it added up to 16 billion gold coins, which would make Lizhen Lane even more impregnable in the future. This time, the martial masters only rested for a day before they continued to perform. As expected, Senior Chun once again occupied a spot. This time, the remaining spots were given to the beauties from the inner yard that Mayer had brought with her. There weren't many experts that each family had brought who were confident of advancing. There were still 23 more seals, so each of them needed an average of 8 or 9 experts. The experts present couldn't gather this number, so they could only ask for Mayer's help. The beauties from the inner yard needed a fast-paced piece like the Dance of the Wild Bees to advance, which was different from ordinary experts. To be on the safe side, the experts from each family didn't want to take this risk. Senior Chun, on the other hand, felt that it was novel. He wanted to try out the power of the Dance of the Wild Bees. Senior Chun had the highest cultivation, seniority, and seniority. Who could stop him? They could only inform Senior Chun of the serious consequences. Then, Master Yu represented the Martial Master Band and made an agreement with Senior Chun. If they couldn't take it anymore, they would immediately send a signal and the band would stop. After all the arrangements were made, the performance began. As soon as the rhythm of the Dance of the Wild Bees started, Senior Chun's expression became very interesting. The intense rhythm instantly made all the acupuncture points in his body jump nonstop. The spiritual liquid seemed to be going out of control and was running around in his body. However, he was an expert after all. His cultivation was too high, and his strong control allowed him to immediately suppress the boiling spiritual liquid in his body. Then, Senior Chun immediately realized the benefits of this intense rhythm. This situation was equivalent to moving forward with the spiritual liquid in his body. It was simply a strengthening of his cultivation. Chapter 1491. After discovering this, Senior Chun was shocked and overjoyed. He came out of the ceiling formation and hadn't thought about how to consolidate his cultivation level. He immediately realized that this piece of music was simply tailor-made for supermasters like them. Even though Senior Chun had learned from the juniors in Danyang Valley about the relationship between the Grandmaster's band and Duke Chongqing's residence, as well as the relationship between Duke Chongqing's residence and various parties, he didn't have much hatred for Wang Sheng. Instead, he was curious. What kind of person was Wang Sheng? How could he do so many things? He could cultivate, forge, and even compose music. Moreover, he could accurately find the place where Lin Ling was sealed from the bottom of the lake that was hundreds of meters deep. Even Senior Chun wasn't sure if he could be that accurate. How did Wang Sheng do it? Whether it was Wang Sheng or the Grandmaster Band, a deeper understanding would have to wait until later. For now, Senior Chun had to calm down and continue carefully. In the ceiling formation, He could feel his improvement, but he still needed this kind of music to really help him stabilize his state. While calming down, Senior Chen pondered. He seemed to remember that among the 24 people, there seemed to be one from the Triumph Palace. As long as he could stabilize his state, he might be able to help these girls get that old guy from the Triumph Palace out and support them. The beauties in the inner courtyard had long been ready in Beijing. While the battle was going on at the Glacier Lake, they had been listening to the Grandmaster Band every day to improve their cultivation level, hoping that one day they could help Wang Sheng. Basically, at least half of the 600 beauties were on the verge of breaking through, waiting to advance at any time. The 9 beauties easily entered the state of breakthrough during the third wave of bees. Then, Senior Chun enjoyed the nourishment of this big spirit energy while using the rhythm of the music to stabilize his state, consuming most of its power. However, the ceiling formation was also slowly unraveling. On the second night, the ceiling formation was completely unraveled. Just when the master inside was about to move, he was stopped by Senior Chun. Then, Senior Chun pulled him to enjoy the nourishment of the big spirit energy and the cultivation driven by the rhythm of the music. The master who came out saw Senior Chun, an acquaintance. Even if he didn't understand the situation, he found that there were a few juniors around him who were advancing. With Senior Chun around, he could cultivate with confidence and enjoy the entire ball of spirit chi together until the 9 beauties had completed their advancement. What made the 8 great clans depressed was that the expert who came out this time was still not from the 8 great clans, but from a Smalley clan. But they didn't dare to say anything. 2 super experts were enough to kill all the members of the 8 great clans twice. By the time the second master seal was undone, Wang Sheng and Aki had already arrived at an island far away from the coast. Wang Sheng used the day to grind the Dai family's experts to death without suffering any losses. Experts who had no way out were fighting with their lives on the line. Furthermore, they were all legendary experts. If they were not careful and patient enough, they would definitely pay a hefty price. Fortunately, as an ace sniper, Wang Sheng had a lot of patience. With the cooperation of Great Snow and the 8 flying Yao beasts, Wang Sheng was able to successfully kill them all. However, even though Wang Sheng, Aki, and Heavy Snow were unscathed, only 2 of the 8 flying monsters were left. The spoils of war from more than 20 people allowed Wang Sheng and Aki to not worry about supplies for at least a few months. Wang Sheng directly dispersed the 2 flying mounts, then took Aki and Heavy Snow all the way to the coast. There was no safer place than the islands overseas. The last time Wang Sheng and old Taoist Ling Su rode ordinary flying mounts, they crossed 10 islands before reaching the place where Zhu Xingxing hid his treasures. That trip was an eye-opener for Wang Sheng, and it also confirmed that most of the remote islands overseas were still restricted to humans. The monsters in the sea were too terrifying, and they could grow to an unbelievable level. At the same realm, humans and monsters could differ in size by tens of thousands of times. In the ocean, without leverage, 100 Lin Xiao would not be able to defeat a super sperm whale or super king squid. Their size, coupled with the home advantage of the ocean, could completely ignore the cultivation of humans. Closer islands, or places like Zhu Xingxing's treasures, which could be connected by a series of islands, were fine. Places further away, as long as they were more than 1,000 miles away from the coast, basically no one could reach them. Without Heavy Snow, Wang Sheng could not, old Taoist Ling Su could not, and even Lin Xiao at her peak could not. In other words, Heavy Snow's powerful cultivation could ensure that it could carry Wang Sheng and Aki across a distance of thousands of miles without getting tired. Ordinary flying mounts could not. So, Wang Sheng's first destination was that island in front of the place where the treasures were hidden, and he went there directly. However, the cultivation environment on that island was average, and Wang Sheng only treated it as a springboard. He wanted to go through that island and find a place that was worth staying for at least half a year. By the time Lin Xiao recovered, Wang Sheng would also return. It was true that Heavy Snow liked snow, and it had lived in an extreme environment like the Glacier Basin since young, but this did not mean that it could only live in an extreme environment. Along the way, under Wang Sheng's guidance, as they flew across the sea, Heavy Snow was obviously excited. The valiant monsters in the ocean gave Heavy Snow a brand new hunting ground. One must know that after leaving the glacier basin, there weren't many monsters in the northern polar regions that could make Heavy Snow arouse their appetite, but the ocean was almost everywhere. At least 9th stage realm, or even 10th stage realm, sea monsters were everywhere. Simply Heavy Snow's favorite canteen. Wang Sheng's luck was good, or it could be said that the knowledge he had on Earth played an important role. When the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair started to undo the third array seal, Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow had already found a large island about 1,500 miles away from the 9th Springboard Island. The island was large enough. Wang Sheng estimated it to be more than 10 square kilometers from the sky. What made Wang Sheng and Aki delighted was that there weren't many valiant monsters here. Those that were sufficiently valiant were all in the ocean, so the island's environment was extremely safe. What made them even more surprised was that the spiritual energy here was extremely abundant. For a long time, no one had been here to consume it, so the density was comparable to the grounds of Thousand Despair. When Wang Sheng was scouting in the sky, he discovered a spring and a deep pool. After he landed and tasted it, it was actually fresh water. This way, he didn't need to waste any more time to find a suitable place, so this was the place. Under Wang Sheng's valiant sculpting grandmaster skills, under Wang Sheng's valiant strength, Wang Sheng easily carved out a large, comfortable room on a mountain wall on the island. He happily stayed there with Aki and Heavy Snow to recuperate and cultivate. Chapter 1492. When he killed those experts from the Dai family, Wang Sheng gave Heavy Snow a huge gift. Over 1,000 kilograms of meat from the 14th stage realm king cuttlefish. When human cultivators ate the powerful Yao beast meat, their absorption rate was very low. However, it was different for Yao beasts. Yao beasts could absorb at least 30% to 50% of the power within the Yao beast meat. As for humans, they could only digest and absorb less than 20% of the power, or even less. In short, Heavy Snow ate very happily. Wang Sheng could feel the joy and excitement from the bottom of his heart. Other than the joy of charging to a higher realm with strong spiritual energy, there was also the pressure and battle intent from discovering a type of demonic beast that was stronger than himself. Anyway, it was a good thing. A day's time was enough for Wang Sheng to carve out the room and tidy it up. When Wang Sheng was carving the room, Aki didn't stay idle either. She helped to tidy up the spoils of war of those Dai family experts, categorizing them and putting them away, waiting to be used at any time. There was a batch of good bedding inside. Not sure which fellow who liked to enjoy himself used it. Aki tidied them up and washed them carefully before delightedly arranging them in the room that Wang Sheng had carved out. Heavy Snow couldn't stay still and soon flew around to play. By the time Wang Sheng was done tidying up, Heavy Snow also gave Wang Sheng a huge gift. It was a ferocious fish that was 7 to 8 meters long. Wang Sheng couldn't name it for a moment. But although the fish was dead, that ferocious aura couldn't be hidden from Wang Sheng and Aki. Aki might not be able to judge, only knowing that this fish was definitely stronger than her. But Wang Sheng could guess that this fish was definitely of legendary level, the same level as Heavy Snow. In the ocean, the fish had the home advantage. But once it was in the air, it was the world of Heavy Snow. And Heavy Snow's ultimate trick to deal with this fish was to catch it in the air with his sharp claws when the big fish floated on the water surface. Then no matter how strong the big fish was, there was no way to fight against Heavy Snow. With Heavy Snow, there was no need to eat the food in the storage ring. Fresh fish was much more delicious than long-preserved squid tentacles. Wang Sheng simply gave all the squid tentacles to Heavy Snow, while he and Aki ate the fresh one first. Heavy Snow had a good time eating. Although these super squid tentacles had been stored for more than a year and the spiritual energy had begun to dissipate, it could still make good use of the remaining ones. The squid tentacles that Wang Sheng brought back that year were eaten freely by Heavy Snow, but it was only enough for 3 or 4 meals a day or two. After Big Snow had its fill, it fell into a comfortable slumber on the soft tree branches and fur that Wang Sheng had carved out for it. The spiritual energy was a bit too much, and Heavy Snow also needed to digest well. Looking at its posture, it might not wake up for 3 to 5 or even 8 to 10 days. Fortunately, there was a huge fish reserve, so Wang Sheng and Aki didn't have to worry about not having enough food. The spiritual energy contained in the 10th realm fish was enough for Wang Sheng and Aki to eat and refine for a period of time. Wang Sheng remembered that some fish on Earth specifically ate the swim bladder. This time, when he dissected the fish, he paid attention and cooked the swim bladder carefully before tasting it with Aki. After eating a mouthful of the unknown fish's swim bladder, Wang Sheng immediately felt a warm current flowing from his mouth to his abdomen, and then began to spread throughout his body. The abundant spiritual energy was nourishing enough, but it was not overbearing at all. It soaked his whole body in it, and his whole body was so warm that he didn't want to move. This feeling was even more comfortable than when Wang Sheng used the 7 words formula to heal his body. After all, whether it was using the 7 words formula or recuperating his body, Wang Sheng's own spiritual energy, various fats, proteins, electrolytes, and trace elements would be consumed. But this mouthful of swim bladder seemed to bring all these things in, and the spiritual energy seemed to be even stronger in terms of nourishment. After a while, the spiritual energy in this mouthful of swim bladder was absorbed by Wang Sheng. His whole body was indescribably comfortable, as if he had just enjoyed a professional stew, comfortable from the inside to the outside. Although the 7 words formula had the same effect, it was obviously not as comfortable to stew a stew for himself as others. After the second mouthful, Wang Sheng could clearly feel that the various hidden injuries that had not fully recovered from the battles during this period of time were slowly recovering. The acupuncture points in his body also began to rotate to absorb this comfortable spiritual energy. This was not just to replenish spiritual energy, but to strengthen one's body. Aki only took 1 mouthful and was stunned. She and Wang Sheng felt almost the same thing. The injuries in her body were recovering at a speed that could be felt. The effect of just 1 mouthful of swim bladder seemed to be similar to the effect of the past half a month. It was really magical. The two of them raised their heads and looked at each other, seeing the ecstasy in each other's eyes. They had picked up a treasure. Originally, Aki's recovery from serious injuries had used up a lot of energy. If it wasn't for LV, One Hose, Ice Heart, Dew Pill, and Wang Sheng's 7 words formula, Aki might not have been able to escape from danger and was still on the verge of death. How could she have recovered to the 3rd degree realm so quickly? The reason why Aki's recovery speed was not fast was because her body had used up a lot of energy and she could not get good replenishment. Squid tentacles were very nourishing, but to Aki, the effect was a little too strong and her body could not take it. But now the swim bladder was the real top quality that Aki could fully absorb and use to replenish her energy. The ocean was indeed the biggest cornucopia. Even a fish that was casually caught in the heavy snow had such an effect. It simply made one go crazy with confidence. The two of them took a mouthful and stopped for a while until they were full. Then they began their respective cultivation. Aki was sitting cross-legged with her palms facing the sky, while Wang Sheng was lying down comfortably. There was no choice. His muscles were too strong and his flexibility was too poor. He could not even cross his legs and was unable to reach the standard of Aki. Just the swim bladder of 7 to 8 meters long fish was enough for the two of them to eat for a few days. By the time the swim bladder was finished, Aki had recovered to the 4th degree realm. Not only had her cultivation recovered, her external injuries had also mostly healed. More importantly, when Aki was acting as the Xia family's death warrior, the damage to her body caused by forcefully raising her cultivation had also been healed bit by bit. It was a good item to consolidate one's foundation and nurture one's vitality. As for Wang Sheng, his foundation was originally good, and after the old Taoist guidance, he had a solid foundation. These few days, his injuries had completely recovered. When he advanced to the wind-piercing transformation, Wang Sheng did not have time to perfect his own cultivation method. 4, 5, 12 chakras. He could only use the cultivation method of 256 chakras, which was a huge waste of chakras. Now he finally had time to slowly perfect it. Chapter 1493. As for the foundation of the cultivation method, Wang Sheng did not choose any surprise attack. He still chose the Taoist canon of Taoism. This was the highest level of Taoism. It was neutral and peaceful, but powerful. Old Taoist Ling Su relied on the improved mental cultivation method of the Taoist canon of Taoism to forcibly cultivate to the 12th stage. The effect of cultivation was absolutely powerful. However, Wang Sheng could not choose old Taoist Ling Su's method now. He treated each acupuncture point as the starting acupuncture point and cycled them one by one. A big weekday was only counted as more than 100 complete small weekday. If Wang Sheng did the same, he would probably need 512 small weekday to complete a big weekday. Wang Sheng's current spiritual liquid was not flowing fast enough in the acupuncture points. He could not be like old Taoist Ling Su, who could complete a big weekday in half an hour. Therefore, he still chose his simplest method, which was to connect the acupuncture points end to end. In this way, if 512 acupuncture points were to circulate, it would only take 6 small weekdays of the Taoist canon of Taoism to complete a big weekday. The Taoist canon of Taoism required 81 acupuncture points. 6 times meant 486 acupuncture points. In addition, there were still 24 acupuncture points that had not been used. Wang Sheng used the primordial Guiyuan hand to forcibly strengthen the power of his spiritual energy circulation for these 24 acupuncture points. The 24 acupuncture points could increase the power of the spiritual energy by 2 times. With a sudden rush, Wang Sheng could increase the speed of each complete acupuncture point circulation by a little bit. Of course, the 24 acupuncture points were not always the last part. They were distributed in turn at the beginning and at the beginning of each small weekday of the Taoist canon of Taoism. The fixed first 4 acupuncture points would continue to complete the Taoist canon of Taoism through the accelerated spiritual energy for a small weekday. Every time, there would be an increase of 4 acupuncture points. At the last time, the speed would be the fastest. After this cycle, each big weekday would cause a little damage to Wang Sheng's acupuncture points. However, with the 7 words formula and the repair of the fish bladder, Wang Sheng did not care about this little damage. On the contrary, because of the recovery of each small damage, the acupuncture points were fully tempered and became more and more powerful. One day, when he used the complete primordial Guiyuan hand again, the side effects would be much smaller. It took 7 days for Wang Sheng to confirm and familiarize himself with his new cultivation method. During this time, heavy snow had woken up. Under Wang Sheng's reminder, he caught another fish to ensure that Wang Sheng and Aki's fish bladder would not run out. After Achi had been greatly nourished by the fish bladder, his recovery rate had become even more shocking. 7 days later, he had already recovered to the 5th degree realm. Looking at this situation, in another half a month's time, she would be able to recover to the peak of the 6th stage realm. Wang Sheng had said before that if Aki followed him, he would teach her the method to raise her spirit and cultivation. The timing now was more suitable. Aki had used her life to prove her loyalty to Wang Sheng, so Wang Sheng would not be stingy. In terms of spirit, Wang Sheng had asked Aki a long time ago and found out that Aki's spirit was a 6-star white bobcat. Wang Sheng's first reaction was to let Aki's spirit transform into a white tiger. They were both felines and were also white. As long as he had enough confidence, there wouldn't be too much of a problem. With Song Yin and Mei Er's changes, Wang Sheng had 90% confidence to let Aki evolve into a white tiger. He explained the changes of the white tiger's 7 mansions one by one to Aki. Initially, Aki felt like she was listening to a book from heaven. But when Wang Sheng told her that these 7 mansions changes were once believed by billions of people, she immediately became unwavering. Originally, she trusted Wang Sheng very much, and when Wang Sheng told her about Song Yin and Mei Er's changes, Aki's temperament instantly changed. Aki was originally a killer, and now that she was evolving into a white tiger that mainly killed in the West, her entire body's murderous aura immediately leaked out. This murderous aura wasn't targeted at anyone, but was purely caused by the spirit's change. Aki had been stuck at the peak of the sixth-stage realm for a long time, and she believed that once her injuries recovered, she would immediately advance to the seventh-stage realm. Aki was quietly recuperating from her injuries while Wang Sheng could no longer sit still. Just based on ordinary cultivation, he would never be able to become a peak warrior. So once Wang Sheng's injuries recovered and his cultivation method was confirmed, Wang Sheng went hunting with Heavy Snow. The valiant demonic beasts in the ocean were enough to let Wang Sheng experience many marvelous places which could be used as a reference for cultivation. Half a year later, Wang Sheng and Lin Xiu would need to face all the top exponents in the world together. Wang Sheng needed to have sufficient battle power, and at the same time while he was cultivating, he could continue to search for suitable islands. If it really couldn't be done, these islands would be Wang Sheng and Lin Xiu's last route of retreat. An ace sniper would always have a plan B when he went out on a mission, wasn't it? On this side, Wang Sheng and Aki and Heavy Snow were living freely on the island. In the glacier lake, the various powerhouses were also in pain and happiness. The current glacier lake could no longer be called a glacier lake because all the lake water had already flowed away through the underground passage, leaving only a portion of solid ice, which had not melted due to the effects of the sealing array. Of course, these changes didn't matter much. The various parties had already gone down to the underground lava lake from the metal pipe, which Wang Sheng left behind, so whether these ice cubes were there or not didn't affect them at all. Although Senior Chun and the second Senior Liu had come out from the sealing array, but the secret manual which they were guarding was still sealed in ice. There was no other way. They could only unlock all the seals. The two of them were very appreciative of the Grandmaster Band's performance of Flight of the Wasp. This was a good thing that could help them consolidate their realm. It also made them have a good impression of Mei Er and the beauties in the inner yard that she had brought along. After that, the next person to unlock the seal was a female elder from Triumph Palace. Which one to unlock first and which one to unlock last was decided by the two ancestors together. The communication between them couldn't be heard by the other parties even if they wanted to. They also didn't have the intention to explain, so everyone could only do as they were told. As soon as the Triumph Palace expert was unlocked, all parties knew that this was from Triumph Palace, including the Imperial Tang family, Xia family, Feng family, and several other families. They broke into a cold sweat on the spot. In the past, Triumph Palace was jointly destroyed by them. If this expert turned hostile on the spot, wouldn't it be troublesome? Although it was to befriend Wang Sheng, and the main culprit was also Wang Sheng. Wasn't Wang Sheng not here? They could only bear the brunt of the attack. Fortunately, Triumph Palace still had a group of female disciples. This time, when Mei Er came, Tantai Yao also came with her. Knowing that it was an ancestor of Triumph Palace, Tantai Yao was naturally the most qualified to pay respects. After a group of beauties was led by Tantai Yao to pay respects to the ancestor, it didn't take long for all parties to feel the pressure brought by the anger of the Triumph Palace ancestor. At least dozens of people on the scene almost lost their composure on the spot. Chapter 1494. Victorious Return Palace had been destroyed, and their territories and properties had been carved up. This was clearly a revenge for the destruction of their entire family. Now that the old ancestor of Victorious Return Palace was so angry, it was completely normal. It couldn't be any more normal. Even if he rushed out and killed a few people, apart from Senior Chun and Senior Liu, no one else would dare to say half a word. In fact, at this moment, the 8 great families were somewhat regretful. If they knew that these ancestors would be so strong, why would they bother to let them out? Now, the initiative was completely not in their hands, and they had to listen to these ancestors. However, if they didn't let these ancestors out, then when Lin Ling recovered, who would deal with them? relying on these masters who had just entered the legendary realm. They couldn't even block the instinctive counterattack when she was unconscious, and they wanted to fight against her after she recovered. Letting these masters out was also an act of helplessness. Who told them to besiege the Lin family and create 500 years of good days for the younger generation? Now that this situation was like this, everyone could only accept it. The several families were on tenterhooks, waiting for the ancestor of Triumph Palace to flip out. The hearts of the Tang family, Xia family, and Feng family were in their throats. The royal family was slightly better. After all, there was still Mei who had a good relationship with the women of Triumph Palace, so when the time came, they could at least mediate a little. The furious atmosphere lasted for a full incense stick of time, and then it slowly subsided. It seemed that the ancestors inside had calmed down. All parties were waiting for the final verdict to come. In the future, whoever dares to bully the female disciples of my Triumph Palace, wash your neck and wait for it. When the female ancestor of Triumph Palace appeared in front of everyone, the first sentence she said was this. Immediately after, there was a cold snort. Humph! This cold snort caused everyone's heart to tremble, except for Mayor's side. Then they let out a long sigh. It seemed that they had passed this hurdle first, and they didn't need to worry about this female ancestor immediately making a move. Which family didn't buy a few female disciples of Triumph Palace? That was originally a business of Triumph Palace, and all parties took care of it. At this moment, the first thought in the minds of all the higher-ups was to immediately go back and worship those female disciples of Triumph Palace as if they were their ancestors. They must not make this ancestor unhappy. Fortunately, it was a female ancestor. She should also be very sympathetic towards the plight of the female disciples of Victorious Return Palace. Her anger a moment ago was probably not directed towards the people outside, but towards the men of Victorious Return Palace. In fact, all parties held Victorious Palace in disdain for their actions in the past. As men, not only did they not protect their own sisters in the sect, but they even used the method of selling them to generate income for their sect. They were simply the scum of men. At this moment, he wasn't surprised at all that this female ancestor of Triumph Palace was so angry. You're not bad. At this moment, the female senior had already arrived in front of Mei Er. She patted Mei Er's shoulder in a very pleasant manner and praised. That Duke Changsheng is also good. Very good. Seeing that this female senior was about to join Duke Changsheng's mansion, all parties felt awkward. Now, it was even more impossible to deal with Li Zhenfang. Now that things had come to this, it was impossible for all parties to stop, so they continued to lift the seal. What made the 8 great clans happy was that they had finally unsealed an ancestor of the 8 great clans. The fourth person to come out was an ancestor of the Xia family. After understanding the situation with the younger generation of the Xia family, he was also furious. The Xia family's current situation wasn't good. They were at the bottom of the 8 great clans, just like the Dai family. The reason why they had fallen to this state was because the other 8 great clans had intentionally or unintentionally suppressed them. However, he couldn't get angry because the Xia family hadn't found any evidence of the other parties directly suppressing them. Although the Xia family's ancestor could use his powerful cultivation to teach the other 7 great clans a lesson, he couldn't because there were still 3 masters of the same level present. Although they weren't from the 8 great clans, they still didn't allow him to make a move. Compared to the open and hidden struggles between the 8 great clans, the real enemy of these ancestors was still Lin Ling and Lin Xiao. As long as Lin Ling was there, even the biggest conflict could be suppressed. The ancestor of the Xia clan was not a loner who could disregard everything. Thus, he could only suppress his anger and obediently use the great grandmaster's performance of Flight of the Wasp to consolidate his cultivation. Each time an ancestor was unsealed, there would be a group of people who would be shocked. Especially with the 8 great clans as the main force, they had to worry about whether they had suppressed the younger generation of the Xia family all these years. The pressure was like a mountain. The Xia family was much better now. With an ancestor in charge, no matter how unhappy the other great clans were, they didn't dare to get angry at the Xia family easily. The master of the Xia family and the great elder spoke in a much louder voice, their backs even straighter. But as more and more masters were unsealed, the situation started to change. The 8 great clans were the main force back then. It could be said that each family had a master sealed. Whichever family's ancestor was unsealed would breathe a long sigh of relief. With their ancestor in charge, they didn't need to worry about anything else. By the time the 10th ancestor was unsealed, it was already close to 3 months later. Among the 10, there were 4 from the 8 great clans and 6 from other forces. At this stage, the speed at which the seal was unsealed was much faster. The first batch of masters used the Great Grandmaster's concert to break through most of the seals. The second time, there was no need for the inner courtyard beauties to come out. They were all replaced by these ancestors. After listening to the wasp dance for a while, they would attack together and easily undo the seals. The inner courtyard beauties weren't in a rush. They could go back and listen to the Great Grandmaster's performance at any time. They didn't need to fight for an opportunity here. Anyway, the Great Grandmaster's concert was already the second time, and they also used the inner courtyard beauties. The money promised before would be doubled. With the ancestor of the Triumph Palace in charge, there was no need to worry about them going back on their words. This time, the unsealing speed doubled. In 1.5 months, another 10 masters had unsealed. As for the remaining 4, no one dared to act carelessly. This was because their sects or clans had been destroyed in the past 500 years. No one knew how they would react after they were released. Each of the 8 great clans had at least one unsealed master. What was surprising was that the Dai clan had 2 and the Tang clan had 2. With just one more master, the Tang clan leapt to the top of the 8 great clans, with the Dai clan in second place. In addition, there was one from the Imperial clan, one from the Triumph Palace, and a few other small sects and clans. They were evenly matched with the 8 great clans. Chapter 1495. As for the remaining 4, after some discussion, everyone began to unseal them according to the original method. The first time, it was still the disciples chosen by the various families to break through. But for the second time, it was changed to 4 unsealed experts and 6 disciples who could break through. Of course, the second time, the 6 experts would definitely be able to break through. But to be on the safe side, among the 6 disciples, only 2 would be able to break through at most, while the other 4 would take the opportunity to cultivate. The purpose of this was to not give the sealed experts too much time and opportunity to consolidate their cultivation, making it easier for them to suppress or deal with them. With 4 unsealed experts suppressing 1 unsealed expert, everyone had a better chance of winning. The 8 great clans sent 2 experts at a time, while the other clans also sent 2 experts at a time. On the side of the 8 great clans, the Dai family and Tang family each had 1 expert free, while the Imperial family and Triumph Palace didn't make a move. Sure enough, the spiritual energy of the 3 experts breaking through just happened to melt a part of the ice pillar, leaving behind a thin layer. As long as the experts inside struggled, they would be able to break out. The first expert to be suppressed felt something was wrong as soon as he was unsealed. 4 of his once familiar comrades were standing around him, glaring at him like tigers watching their prey. What were they trying to do? Before he could react, the seemingly insignificant juniors hurriedly left the sealed area, leaving only the 5 of them in this narrow space. The expert who had just broken out of the seal immediately became vigilant. "Brother Dai, what's the meaning of this?" Facing a familiar expert from the Dai family, the surrounded expert frowned and immediately asked, "My apologies, Brother Lu." Sensing that the people below had all left the area, the expert from the Dai clan apologized to his former companion who was surrounded. "It's been 500 years outside. Unfortunately, Brother Lu's clan has been completely annihilated in these 500 years. For safety's sake, we can only inconvenience Brother Lu." "What?" The expert surnamed Lu was shocked. 500 years was nothing to be surprised about, but his own clan had actually been exterminated? How was that possible? Why were these people surrounding him? There seemed to be only one reason. The destruction of his clan had something to do with the clans of these fellows. The expert surnamed Lu immediately flew into a rage. Was it you, AI? The Dai family expert shook his head. I wanted to give Brother Lu a chance, but Brother Lu is so stubborn. What a pity. Pung, 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 pung. On one side, he shook his head and said that it was a pity, but on the other side, the other four had already made their moves. Although the expert, surnamed Lu, was already prepared for this, he had only just come out of the ceiling array formation and had not gone through the tempering of the flying wasps to consolidate his cultivation base. He had not fought for 500 years, and the first thing he did was to fight against an expert of the same level as him. Moreover, it was 1 against 4. His opponents were waiting for him to exhaust himself, so the outcome of this confrontation could be imagined. The 4 enemies were attacking with all their might. In such a small space, other than clashing head-on, there was no other way to dodge. Several consecutive attacks landed solidly on the body of the expert, surnamed Lu, who had just come out. Although he did not fear death and exchanged blows with the expert from the Dai family, the result of the confrontation was hopeless. Boom! The entire ceiling formation collapsed, and the ground beneath the 4 people's feet turned into rubble. The 5 figures descended together and landed on the already cooled magma lake below. The expert surnamed Lu spat out a mouthful of blood. This time, he was seriously injured. Half of the ribs in his body were broken, and a few of the broken bones even pierced into his lungs. If he did not speak, air would leak out. You guys are so ruthless. Even in his wildest dreams, the expert surnamed Lu could never have imagined that these fellows wouldn't even give him a single reply. Disregarding the camaraderie of fighting side by side 500 years ago, they would kill him just because he asked if it was them. They didn't give him any room to explain or negotiate at all, directly killing him. Before death, when the body could no longer take care of itself, the brain of a person would work very fast. At this moment, the expert surnamed Lu suddenly understood that when they told him about the destruction of those clans, they probably did not intend to let him live. Whether he would pursue the matter or not, whether he would take revenge or not, they would not let him go. The human heart was unpredictable. Who would dare to let someone who might be disloyal live? In fact, he should have known this a long time ago. When he annihilated the Lin family, didn't he do the same thing? That female master of the Lin family, Lin Ling, ignored them at the start and let them slaughter the Lin family. But later on, everyone unanimously believed that Lin Ling would take revenge, so they attacked first and annihilated her. This resulted in the result of being slaughtered by Lin Ling. Now, these guys didn't give him any room to explain or negotiate. What did he give Lin Ling a chance to explain? Now, that he ended up like this, it was the cycle of the heavens. I'm waiting for you guys down there. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and the wound on his lung was also bubbling with blood. The expert surnamed Lu had a creepy sneer on his face as he left his last words to the 4 people who attacked him. The words of a man on the verge of death were kind. At the moment of his death, the expert surnamed Lu finally understood why these people had joined forces to deal with him. There was only one possibility. Lin Ling had already escaped, so these people had to group up. Since Lin Ling had escaped, why not go first? With these people's personalities, would they give Lin Ling a chance to explain? Or would Lin Ling let them go so easily? Finally, one was taken care of. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The remaining 3 weren't hard to deal with. In the following period of time, the remaining 3 masters were released one by one. Using almost the same method, everyone easily killed the 3 masters, not giving them any chance to fight back. The price they paid was only the light injuries of 2 senior experts. All the seals were finally broken, and the restrictive spells of the Place of Thousand Despair no longer existed. The remaining 20 miles of ice at the bottom of the glacier lake began to melt. In just a few days, the ice had completely melted away, revealing the huge space underneath the ice. 24 small valleys were distributed in different areas, corresponding to the 24 ceiling formations below. Finally, the true appearance was revealed. Every valley was guarded by the forces of those senior experts. The four empty ones were the common territories of all the forces, and they were guarded together. The ultimate secret of the ground of Thousand Despair was finally revealed. Now, it was time for everyone to decide how to allocate the time. Chapter 1496. Aki had completely recovered after half a month on the island. On the 18th day, Aki finally began to break through and advance. Wang Sheng waited for Aki for 2.5 days, watching her rush from the peak of the 6th stage to the 7th stage. After the advancement, Aki cultivated for another 2 days to consolidate her realm. Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow fought with the sea demon beasts on the sea surface, exploring the new strength after his advancement. Wang Sheng was caught under Heavy Snow's big claws, staring nervously at the sea surface. Big Snow, on the other hand, glided across the surface of the sea with Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's body was less than a foot above the surface of the sea. He could dive into the sea at any time. Suddenly, Wang Sheng stretched out his hand and whistled at the same time. Heavy Snow spread her wings and soared into the sky. Wang Sheng's hand was holding the head of a big fish tightly. His fingers had already penetrated deeply into the big fish's skull. He pulled the big fish, whose head was bigger than Wang Sheng's, out of the sea and into the air. The big fish's strength was great. With a fling of its body, a huge force was transmitted to Wang Sheng's body. Wang Sheng exerted strength with both his arms, and his other hand quickly inserted into the big fish's head. Only then did he manage to stabilize himself. But Heavy Snow was almost pulled askew by this force. She shook violently in the air for a few times and almost lost her balance. Returning Element Palm attacked fiercely, and the strong spiritual energy instantly penetrated the big fish's skull, stirring the big fish's brain into a pot of porridge. The big fish that was struggling fiercely stopped all its movements and hung down softly, motionless. Grabbing onto Wang Sheng, Big Snow's figure rose rapidly. Soon, they reached a height of 10,000 zhong. Wang Sheng steadily grabbed the big fish and flew all the way back to the island where he was staying. He had to fly this high. There were a few times when Heavy Snow had already caught his prey, but it was snatched away by a tentacle that suddenly stretched out from the sea, or a bigger sea demon beast that jumped out and bit the prey in half. After suffering a few losses, Heavy Snow learned his lesson. Once he caught his prey, he would immediately increase his altitude. It was the safest to fly above 1,000 zhong. Even Wang Sheng was flying very carefully. Fortunately, those powerful sea monsters were all in the deep sea region. Otherwise, 1,000 feet long tentacle could easily drag Wang Sheng, Aki, and Heavy Snow into the sea. The bladder of this kind of big fish that would foolishly come to the surface of the water to play was a good thing. Eating it often was definitely a good thing to strengthen one's foundation. In other words, it could only be caught at least a few hundred miles away from the coast in the deep sea. People on land would never think of such a great supplement. During dinner, Wang Sheng and Ah Chi finally got to eat the delicious fish maw again. They felt very comfortable eating it. At night, when Wang Sheng was sleeping while cultivating, he suddenly sensed that Aki, who was lying not far away, stood up and slowly approached him. Wang Sheng did not open his eyes. Aki did not have any hostility or killing intent. After such a long time together, Aki was willing to use her life to follow Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was very confident in Aki. A corner of the thin blanket covering Wang Sheng's body was gently lifted. Then, a slim figure burrowed into Wang Sheng's arms. Just like that time in Wang Sheng's mansion in Carefree City, Aki was not wearing a single piece of clothing. She just lightly pressed against Wang Sheng's body. Logically, Aki should have been used to this kind of intimacy. However, Aki's body at this moment was covered with small lumps. When Wang Sheng's hands covered Aki's delicate skin, that part of the muscles trembled slightly, showing that Aki was nervous. There were no words. At this moment, Wang Sheng could not say anything. Reject Aki? That would make Aki completely despair. If he accepted the teasing, it would seem that he had some impure motives. So, he simply did not say anything. Aki was very proactive. She took the initiative to hug Wang Sheng's thick neck and pressed her cherry lips against Wang Sheng's. When Aki clumsily stuck her lilac tongue into Wang Sheng's mouth, everything happened naturally. Wang Sheng completely took the initiative. His experience was much richer than Aki, and he easily sent Aki to the peak several times. By the time Wang Sheng finally vented out, the seventh-stage realm Aki had already softened into a puddle of mud, not even bothering to move her little finger. From the start to the end, the both of them did not say a single word. After they were done, Wang Sheng only gently hugged Aki, and the other hand caressed Aki's long legs, which were placed on his chest, which made Wang Sheng full of praises as he intimately closed his eyes. The both of them had a kind of tacit understanding, and under such circumstances, it made one feel warm. One was that the entire world had abandoned her, and the other was that she was the enemy of the entire world. They were rather compatible. It was as if she had completed a mission that gave him a sense of mission. From his body to his heart, he seemed to have a kind of active vitality. He was no longer as lifeless as before. It was as though Wang Sheng's irrigation had given her a new lease of life. Wang Sheng was also much more relaxed. Over the past few days, Wang Sheng's nerves had been stretched taut. It was still all right at the start with Song Yin, but ever since the glacier lake started to thaw, Wang Sheng was always nervous, especially when he entered the underground space and found the ceiling formation. In front of so many experts from the 8 families, Wang Sheng took Lin Ling away. It could be said that he was provoking the 8 families at that time. He was lucky enough to succeed, but in the end, he had to face the relentless pursuit of the 8 families. On the way, there were a few enemies: Godly Might Prison, Exquisite Pavilion, and the 8 families. Wang Sheng had to try his best to resolve or fight them each time. That string on his body never relaxed. When Marquis Lu Wenho appeared and took Lin Ling away, until Wang Sheng was chased by the Dai family. The moment that Wang Sheng truly felt safe was when Heavy Snow appeared and took Wang Sheng and Aki to the island. Although he felt safe, Wang Sheng's nerves didn't completely relax. As an experienced assassin, Aki felt this deeply. The moment he recovered from his injuries and broke through, Seven took the initiative to offer himself to Wang Sheng. This was also to let Wang Sheng relax. Of course, she also had the intention of completely offering herself to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng didn't let down Aki's 2 goals. He silently accepted Aki until she fell asleep from exhaustion. Aki had a smile on her face. Wang Sheng didn't fall asleep. He gently hugged the soft body next to him and stared at the clear sky. He was thinking about when and how to go back to find Lin Xiao, as well as what he needed to prepare for the upcoming battle. Wang Sheng wasn't worried about Lin Xiao's safety at all. As long as he knew that the families were starting to unlock those seals, Lin Xiao would be safe. Marquis Lu Wenho wasn't that stupid. He wouldn't allow everyone to strengthen their own power. With Lin Xiao there, everyone wouldn't dare to be presumptuous. Otherwise, not to mention the carefree city, even the Imperial Treasure House would probably be annexed. But just to not be annexed, Marquis Lu Wenho would also serve Lin Xiao comfortably. Chapter 1497. Right now, Wang Sheng was only in the legendary realm. He was 3 realms away from those sealed old fellows. Although Wang Sheng was used to defeating the strong as the weak, but at this level, 3 realms was simply an insurmountable moat. When he was not in the mainstream, Wang Sheng could rely on a sniper rifle to kill the 4th stage realm 4th Master Dai. But now, for Wang Sheng to use a sniper rifle to deal with those sealed experts, it was impossible. If the sniper rifle bullets hit those people, it would only cause their bodies to shake a little and would not cause them any injury. Sniper rifles would not work, and neither would heavy sniper crossbows. When Wang Sheng designed it, the heavy sniper crossbows were meant to deal with 9th stage realm experts. In fact, if the materials were good enough, even if it was an expert who had just advanced to the legendary realm, they would not be able to defend against the attack of the heavy sniper crossbows. At this point, the legendary experts who died under the heavy sniper crossbows could prove it. On Earth, although the power of the heavy sniper crossbows could not be compared to anti-tank armor-piercing bullets, it was at least several times stronger than the anti-material 12. 7mm Barrett M82A1. But here, the current power of the heavy sniper crossbows was still somewhat insufficient. If Wang Sheng wanted to help Lin Xiao, under the situation where his own cultivation could not be increased in a short period of time, there was only one way, and that was to borrow the help of tools. Either he could use those special bombs, such as incendiary bombs or gas bombs, or he could continue to increase the power of the heavy sniper crossbows, so that the heavy arrows could reach the power of anti-tank armor-piercing bullets. Wang Sheng could not make anti-tank missiles, and even if he could, with the speed of that kind of missile, it would not be able to hit a 13th-stage realm expert. So, Wang Sheng could only think of ways to make high-speed armor-piercing bullets. If it could reach the power of over a meter-thick armor on Earth, he believed that even 13th-stage realm experts would have to kneel. If he wanted the heavy arrows to reach that kind of power, then he would need to refer to the design of the long, armor-piercing bullets. On Earth, Wang Sheng was familiar with the use and basic principles of various in-service weapons and equipment, and was quite familiar with the long, armor-piercing bullets. Wang Sheng only needed to strengthen a few aspects of the design. First was the material. The material had to be strong enough to break through steel armor. Of course, it could also break through the defenses of experts. This time, Wang Sheng no longer had to worry about it. Heavy Snow's claws could easily break rocks and iron. Thinking about it, the shells of strong marine creatures could do the same. The second thing was the stability of flight. There was no need to worry about this. The heavy sniper crossbow itself had rifling. When the heavy arrows were shot out, it was like a sniper rifle bullet. There was no need to worry about it flying askew. Of course, the most important thing to increase power was to increase the mass and speed. The long-barreled armor-piercing projectile was a kinetic projectile. It relied on powerful kinetic energy to smash the hard warhead into armor. What Wang Sheng needed to consider now was to find suitable materials to increase the weight of the heavy arrows and increase the initial firing speed of the heavy sniper crossbow to increase its power. Ever since the discovery of the super-strong demon beasts in the ocean, Wang Sheng had been looking forward to the day when he could strengthen the power of the heavy sniper crossbow. Now, he could finally focus on this matter without any distractions. As for the material of the arrowhead, the first thing that came to Wang Sheng's mind was that it would be similar to the spear-shaped upper jaw of swordfish or sailfish in the ocean on Earth. On Earth, there was evidence that swordfish's snout could penetrate the bottom of a 50-centimeter thick boat. The snout of a super-strong demon bee swordfish was definitely the best material to make armor-piercing projectiles. Wang Sheng didn't know if there were any similar fish in the ocean, so he needed to look for it. Whether it was sailfish or swordfish, they were all deep-sea fish. They could only be found at depths of at least 300 to 500 meters. This was only common knowledge on Earth. In this world, it was probably even deeper. Wang Sheng had a diving suit, an underwater thruster, and a cylinder for underwater breathing. He even had a golden cloud pattern to hide his scent. After pondering for a day, Wang Sheng finally decided to go underwater. At most, White Snow could fly Wang Sheng to the deep sea, but when Wang Sheng entered the water, it could only hover in the air and wait for Wang Sheng. It couldn't be of any help in the ocean. Although Aki was worried, she didn't say anything to stop Wang Sheng. Anyway, Aki had already decided that the worst result was that she would die with Wang Sheng. For Aki, death wasn't something she was afraid of. Carefully avoiding an area where super long tentacles had appeared, Wang Sheng jumped into the water when he was still 10 meters above the surface. Heavy Snow spread its wings and flew quickly. As it flew, it let out a provocative long whistle to help Wang Sheng attract the attention of the sea. After entering the water, Wang Sheng dived head first into the water. The golden pattern of the Taowu transformation could hide from old Taoist Ling Su's detection when Wang Sheng was in the 6th or 7th stage. Now that Wang Sheng was in the legendary level, he could definitely hide from the detection of the 13th or 14th stage demon beasts. Along the way, Wang Sheng felt that the surrounding aura was getting more and more terrifying. He had only dived for 200 meters, but he had already discovered that there were at least tens of thousands of 6th or 7th stage demon beasts around him. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Sheng knew that there were many creatures in the ocean, he would definitely be scared to the point of not daring to move. The advantage of the golden cloud was that it could hide Wang Sheng's own scent, but it didn't hinder Wang Sheng from sensing the demon beast scent. Wang Sheng had already turned off the underwater thruster. This thing needed spiritual energy to activate the formation stone, so it was easy to be exposed. Wang Sheng just took a few random metal items and overcome the buoyancy, diving all the way down. As he dived for 500 meters, the surrounding demon beast aura had changed from the 6th or 7th stage to the 7th or 8th stage, and occasionally there were even 90-stage demon beasts. However, Wang Sheng still hadn't noticed the extremely fast fish. At this depth, Wang Sheng already felt a little stuffy. If it wasn't for the diving suit made from the skin of the 14th stage super sperm whale, Wang Sheng estimated that another 200 to 300 meters would be his limit. Now, with the help of the diving suit, Wang Sheng reached a depth of 800 meters, but it was only the feeling of diving 50 to 60 meters on Earth. At this moment, Wang Sheng was like a lifeless piece of iron, slowly sinking in the ocean. Be it the surrounding fish or demon beasts, none of them were interested in Wang Sheng. As he continued to go down, Wang Sheng felt that he had already exceeded a depth of 1,000 meters. When he entered about 1,200 meters, Wang Sheng felt a little uncomfortable. However, this still wasn't Wang Sheng's limit. He could still dive further. Finally, when he reached about 1,500 meters, Wang Sheng understood that he couldn't continue to go down any further. At this depth, Wang Sheng began to search carefully. The surrounding demon beast aura had already vaguely reached the legendary stage or even the epic stage. Each of them seemed to be much stronger than Wang Sheng himself, and their size was at least a few times, 10 times, or even 100 times bigger. After staying at this depth for less than half an hour, Wang Sheng suddenly sensed a strong demon beast's aura moving rapidly. Its speed was so fast that it surpassed all the surrounding demon beasts. Chapter 1498. The choice of this sea area, Wang Sheng chose it based on the living environment of swordfish on Earth. The probability of finding swordfish on Earth was more than 70%. Wang Sheng had no confidence in the spirit world, but now it seemed that his luck was not too bad. Feeling the fast aura, Wang Sheng suspected that the speed underwater had exceeded the speed of sound in the air. But at this time, Wang Sheng did not have time to think about this. He quickly sent out a friendly aura to the shadow in the water. The 7 words formula was mysterious. Even if he did not control it, there was a high possibility that they could become friends. The heavy snow was a clear proof of this. When Wang Sheng was still in the 9th stage realm, he could already become friends with Heavy Snow, who was in the 10th stage realm. Now that Wang Sheng was in the legendary realm, at least among the beasts of this realm, Wang Sheng had at least 90% confidence that they would not treat him as an enemy. In fact, at this depth, the light from the water could not penetrate at all, and most of the time it was pitch black. Occasionally, there were some glowing beasts that could emit a faint light. With Wang Sheng's powerful vision, he could occasionally see a little shadow. But that was all. Most of the time, Wang Sheng could only close his eyes. At this depth, the pressure was too great. Wang Sheng's body and the diving suit made from the skin of a 14th-stage realm demon beast could still bear it, but his eyes could not. The goggles were not designed for this depth, so Wang Sheng could only close his eyes and put away the goggles. Occasionally, when he opened his eyes and glanced, he could see the outline of some warm-blooded animals. But swordfish were cold-blooded animals, and even with Wang Sheng's strong night vision, he could not see the swordfish that had the same temperature as the surrounding water. Other than the aura, he could not see anything swimming at high speed. The speed of sound transmission in the water was faster, and the power seemed to be stronger. Just 1 or 2 seconds later, Wang Sheng noticed that the high-speed beast that was tens of feet away from him had slowed down. After using the 7 words formula a few more times, the beast began to slowly move towards Wang Sheng. When it was about 10 feet away, it stopped. The demonic beast seemed to be very curious and was carefully observing Wang Sheng from its position. Wang Sheng understood that the swordfish had excellent eyesight. Even in the dim environment underwater, it could accurately locate its prey. At this moment, it was probably because it had never seen a creature like Wang Sheng, and it was giving off an intimate aura. It was very puzzled. Under such circumstances, Wang Sheng maintained his motionless posture, trying his best not to cause the monster to misunderstand. He kept chanting the 7-word formula to lure it closer. As expected, the demonic beasts were attracted and continued to approach. However, when Wang Sheng felt that there was still a distance of 5 feet between them, Wang Sheng's superhuman vigilance had already allowed him to discover that something was already close to his body. This was the long kiss of the swordfish that Wang Sheng wanted the most. Wang Sheng stretched out his hand and slowly touched the sharp thorn that was approaching him. Its movements were very slow, and the 7-word formula did not stop. Even when Wang Sheng touched it, the swordfish did not attack. Wang Sheng secretly rejoiced. There was a way. Following the long, sharp tongue, Wang Sheng inched his body bit by bit, nearing the head of the swordfish. The swordfish did not attack. It seemed to be enjoying the body conditioning function of Wang Sheng's 7-word formula. Wang Sheng's heart trembled with fear as he touched the sharp lips that were a full 15 feet long. The strong aura coming from it and the degree of sharpness that Wang Sheng felt with his hand made Wang Sheng's heart filled with fear and at the same time, ecstasy. Such a sharp tongue, not to mention a 13-stage, even a 14-stage expert without the same level of protective clothing would be penetrated. This swordfish gave Wang Sheng the feeling that it was at least in the 12th stage, and it was even in the late or peak stage of the 12th stage. It was even more terrifying than the aura that the old Taoist completely released. Nearing the huge head of the swordfish, the root of the sharp tongue was thicker than Wang Sheng's waist by a few times. The head of the swordfish was much higher than Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's small body size was not enough to fill the gap between its teeth. This was probably the reason why this huge demonic beast did not attack Wang Sheng. When he really touched the head of the swordfish, Wang Sheng was finally able to feel a little bit of the swordfish's emotions. What surprised Wang Sheng was that this swordfish seemed to be in pain. It should be injured. No wonder Wang Sheng's 7-word formula could attract it. It should be the accelerated recovery and conditioning function which made it very happy. Realizing this, Wang Sheng was even more grateful for his good luck. To be able to meet an injured 12th-stage swordfish demonic beast at 1,200 meters underwater, this luck was simply heaven-defying. Immediately changing to the 7-word formula, which focused on healing, Wang Sheng started to use it again. This time, the swordfish became happier, and the emotions it transmitted to Wang Sheng had turned into comfort. Wang Sheng was not comfortable staying at this depth for a long time. Taking the opportunity, Wang Sheng sent out the intention to let the swordfish rise slowly. The swordfish easily understood Wang Sheng's intention, and with a shake of its body, Wang Sheng immediately felt his body being brought up by the swordfish rapidly. Stop! Wang Sheng hurriedly gave the command to stop. The swordfish didn't understand, but it didn't continue to rise and stopped. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in the sea, Wang Sheng would have wiped off his cold sweat. Just like that, the depth of the two of them rose by 300 to 400 meters. Wang Sheng madly used the 7-word formula on himself for dozens of times before he calmed down the discomfort caused by the sudden change in pressure. Once again, he let the swordfish rise slowly. This time, the swordfish demonic beast completely understood and rose slowly until it reached 200 meters underwater before it stopped. At this depth, Wang Sheng was able to open his eyes and see the swordfish's appearance in detail. Its body was over 10 feet long, and its head was even bigger than the blue whale on Earth. Wang Sheng was practically drooling at the sight of that long, sharp, 5-meter-long kiss. But that long and deep wound on the swordfish's body made Wang Sheng terrified. Wang Sheng was very curious. What kind of strong opponent could injure this swordfish to such an extent? Would it be waiting nearby for the swordfish to lose its strength and then reap its prey? But for the sake of a long kiss, Wang Sheng decided to take the risk. At the depth of 200 meters, Wang Sheng felt much more comfortable. After recovering for a while, Wang Sheng started to crazily use the 7-word formula on the swordfish. When the surrounding sea demonic beasts felt the aura of the swordfish, they had long disappeared without a trace. It was indeed worthy of being the top predator in the sea. After using it for a long time, Wang Sheng could see that the wound on the swordfish's body had started to heal. Only then did Wang Sheng stop. The swordfish demonic beast immediately transmitted a doubtful emotion, as though it was asking why he stopped. "I'm tired." Wang Sheng clearly transmitted his thoughts over and said, "Also, I need a few spikes from your kind. I don't need them to be alive. Even dead ones will do. Can you find them?" Chapter 1499. In the process of interacting with a large number of demonic beasts, Wang Sheng had already discovered that other than a small number of groups like man-eating ants and killer bees, etc. demonic beasts, the other demonic beasts didn't value their own kind's corpses that much. Sometimes their own kind's corpses were also their own food. That was why Wang Sheng dared to negotiate with this 12th-stage realm swordfish, using its own kind's corpse as a bargaining chip. Moreover, Wang Sheng believed that there was an 80% chance that the swordfish would agree. Now, the swordfish's recovery was only a small portion. After all, its size was huge. No matter how powerful Wang Sheng's 7-words formula was, it was already difficult for Wang Sheng to make any sound underwater. Although there was the addition of the water waves, but the power was at most the same as Wang Sheng's on the water surface. For such a huge wound, it wasn't able to reach the stage of immediate recovery. A 12th-stage realm demonic beast's intelligence was already rather high. At least it could understand some trade-offs. Wang Sheng wanted to gamble on this, to let the swordfish help him find the materials he wanted. The swordfish demonic beast suddenly left Wang Sheng, and after it swiftly swam 2 big rounds around Wang Sheng, it faced Wang Sheng directly. Its long, sharp mouth was aimed directly at Wang Sheng, less than 10 feet away from Wang Sheng. If the swordfish went berserk in such a short distance, Wang Sheng would not be able to evade the swordfish demonic beast's attack, which was faster than the speed of sound in the air. A ferocious aura was emitted from the swordfish's body, as all of it concentrated on Wang Sheng. At that moment, it was as though a peerless, ferocious beast had its eyes on Wang Sheng, as though the next moment it was going to launch its most ferocious attack. For that moment, Wang Sheng almost had the thought of giving up. But thinking of Lin Xiao facing the entire world alone, Wang Sheng's conviction immediately firmed up. Coming to this world, hadn't Wang Sheng done it for Lin Xiao? At this moment, he still wanted to retreat? Wang Sheng opened his eyes wide and stared at the swordfish demonic beast not far from him. Once again, he firmly transmitted his thoughts to it. Not only did it maintain the original condition, but it also added another one. It was matched with the bone of a monster beast that was at least equal to the super sperm whale and super king cuttlefish that he had seen before. The bones of a 14th-degree realm demonic beast were used to strengthen the crossbow arm of the heavy sniper crossbow and to replace the previous metal. This was what Wang Sheng discovered after he reached the 9th-stage realm and interacted with those grandmasters. The original properties of the bones of high-level demon beasts might not be strong, but after years of growth and strengthening, they would have some incredible properties. The longer the demonic beast lived, the higher the rank of the demonic beast, and the more terrifying the strength of its bones. Some 9th-stage realm demonic beast's skeletal strength could definitely surpass most of the metal materials. In addition, there was something even more delightful about the demonic beast bones, and that was that they could be engraved with complex arrays. With enough reinforcement from the arrays, it would be able to display several times the original material's performance. This was much stronger than metal materials. Metal materials could at most be engraved with simple arrays, just like the explosive array on Wang Sheng's heavy arrow, but that was all. So Wang Sheng now wanted an extra piece of that grade of bone. The last time they met the super sperm whale and super king cuttlefish, Wang Sheng and the old Taoist were two pitiful people. After such a long time, they had at most obtained some meat, not even reaching the position of the bones, which was really pitiful. Now that there was a chance, how could they miss it? One man and one fish, at a depth of 200 meters underwater, they were in a deadlock. The swordfish demonic beast emitted a strong aura, trying to suppress Wang Sheng. Although Wang Sheng was small in size, but his aura was as tenacious as an old bamboo deep in the mountains, unwavering. No matter how the crazy aura suppressed him, Wang Sheng treated it as a form of tempering his willpower. The man didn't move, the fish didn't move either. After a full half an hour, the swordfish demonic beast finally moved, but didn't rush towards Wang Sheng directly. Instead, it swam one round around Wang Sheng, giving Wang Sheng a sign of agreement. Wang Sheng was instantly overjoyed. This stretch of the sea, even if Wang Sheng and heavy snow flew all over the sky, he couldn't be more familiar with this sea than the swordfish demonic beast. Moreover, the swordfish demonic beast's realm was higher than heavy snow, and in addition to the fact that it was looking for its own kind's corpse, it should be easier. As for the 14th stage realm demonic beast skeleton, Wang Sheng himself had a sudden idea, not expecting the swordfish demonic beast to agree. In the end, the swordfish demonic beast didn't object. Either it didn't know how to express it, or it had a way to find a strong skeleton. After all, it could live in the deep sea. It might have seen some whale falls before. Wang Sheng knew that the swordfish could survive in the shallow sea, so he clearly told it through the 7 words formula to look for him on the surface of the sea after finding it. On the surface of the sea, Wang Sheng's 7 words formula could play a better role. At least within the depth of 10 meters, Wang Sheng didn't need to worry about the influence of water pressure, and with the addition of the sound of water waves, the effect was even stronger. Before the swordfish left, Wang Sheng used the 7 words formula on it a few more times so that it could recover a little more and also let it firmly remember the feeling of rapid recovery, so that it should be more dedicated when doing things. The swordfish demonic beast finally left. Wang Sheng also slowly floated to the surface of the sea and sent a few signals of the 7 words formula to the sky. After a while, the huge figure of heavy snow appeared in Wang Sheng's vision. Heavy snow glided across the surface of the sea, and when it passed by Wang Sheng, it used its claw to grab Wang Sheng out of the water and flew him into the air. The claw loosened, and Wang Sheng began to fall, but heavy snow quickly flew below Wang Sheng and carried Wang Sheng on its back. Wang Sheng and heavy snow discussed and hovered in the air, and then quietly waited for the swordfish demonic beast to appear. While staying on heavy snow's back, Wang Sheng pumped up the dozens of steel cylinders that he had just used, and at the same time, thought about the improvement plan of the heavy sniper crossbow. In the contact with the swordfish demonic beast, Wang Sheng was completely sure that the long mouth of the swordfish demonic beast could definitely break through the defense of a 13th realm demonic beast, and if it was used on a human, it could be said to be successful. Using the long mouth to make the arrowhead, it would definitely have an armor-piercing property, and it could also be engraved with a more complicated array, which would greatly increase the explosive power. Now he just had to wait for the swordfish to find the long mouth, and who knows what kind of 14th realm demonic beast bones it would find for him. The crossbow's crossbow arm and the gun barrel that Wang Sheng used to shoot all needed to be made of new materials, and it all depended on whether the performance was suitable or not. Not knowing how much time had passed, heavy snow suddenly let out a long roar, which woke Wang Sheng up, and at the same time, the flying altitude also began to slowly decrease. This loud roar woke Wang Sheng up, and he hurriedly looked down from heavy snow's back. A 20-feet-long swordfish, including the long mouth, had just glided across the surface of the sea, and it was the one that had reached an agreement with Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was about to use the 7 words formula to call out, and suddenly, a 20-feet-long triangular dorsal fin appeared silently behind the swordfish. Chapter 1500. Although the size of this dorsal fin was much bigger, but Wang Sheng could tell that it was a shark's dorsal fin at a glance. In the movies on Earth, if this triangular dorsal fin appeared, it would mean the arrival of a terrifying atmosphere. Wangxing suddenly recalled that the swordfish's natural predator should be big fish like sharks, which were also apex predators. From the looks of it, the swordfish demon beast should not have found what Wangxing wanted, but was being hunted by this deep-sea mad shark. When Wangxing thought of the huge wound on the swordfish demonic beast's body, he guessed that all the wounds on its body were left by this mad shark. Otherwise, in the vast sea, what else could cause such a huge wound on this swordfish? The triangular dorsal fin flew across the sea, leaving an obvious watermark, chasing the swordfish demon beast in front. Looking at this scene, Wangxing almost wanted to curse out loud. Was it easy for him to reach an agreement with this swordfish demon beast? He spent so much effort in the depths of the sea, withstanding the extreme pressure, and almost couldn't come up, and even then he had to use the 7-word formula on the swordfish demon beast, tired himself to death, and was threatened by the swordfish demon beast. Finally, the demon beast nodded. But in the end, he was chased by this mad shark? Wasn't this making things difficult for Wangxing? What should he do? He could only think of a way to save that poor swordfish. Although that fellow was at the peak of the late 12th degree realm with such a heavy injury, maybe after it recovered, it would also be at the 13th degree realm, so it would not be Wangxing's turn to be pitiful. But now that it was being chased, it really had the attitude of panicking. Wangxing had already taken out the heavy sniper crossbow and started to calculate the position where he could accurately attack the shark. At the same time, he started to calculate if a few hundred kilograms of black gunpowder suddenly exploded on top of the shark's head, would the ripples cause any damage to the mad shark? The destructive power of a sufficient amount of black gunpowder explosion in the water was sometimes much more powerful than in the air. Heavy snow glided in the air, and Wangxing was also paying attention to the movements below. Just as he was planning to use the heavy sniper crossbow to distract the sharks in the sea, he suddenly realized something was wrong. Hadn't the swordfish demonic beast recovered a lot with the help of his 7-word formula? Even before it recovered, Wangxing had felt that its speed in the deep sea had already surpassed the speed of sound. Why was it getting slower and slower now that it had recovered a lot? Looking at its current speed, it was clearly slightly faster than the mad shark, or perhaps it was on par with it. This made the mad shark think that it could catch up, so it kept chasing it. This was clearly abnormal, extremely abnormal. After observing for a few more minutes, Wangxing was sure that the swordfish demonic beast was playing tricks. Otherwise, with its previous speed after being injured, unless the mad shark directly bit its body and refused to let go, it would not be able to catch up to it. This fellow was playing with the mad shark. Perhaps it wasn't just for fun, but to deliberately bring mad shark to this area, wanting to use the power of Wangxing and heavy snow to take revenge. This fellow simply turned into a spirit. But thinking back, a 12th degree realm peak demonic beast, wasn't that the same as turning into a spirit? This fellow had agreed to Wangxing's condition and actually played such a trick. It was probably revenge against Wangxing for suddenly adding another condition. But Wangxing had no choice but to pinch his nose and accept it. Otherwise, the previous agreement would be invalid. That fellow had recovered quite a lot and wouldn't be bleeding nonstop for the mad shark to chase. It could totally shake off Wangxing and leave. With its speed, it could easily shake off this mad shark until its tail light couldn't be seen. In an instant, Wangxing thought of a few plans. Previously, he only wanted to attract the mad shark's attention to let the swordfish demonic beast escape. But now that he had discovered that fellow's intention, Wangxing had a bigger ambition. This mad shark was able to injure the swordfish demonic beast. It was probably not an ordinary person. It should at least be at the 12th degree realm peak or higher. If he could kill it, Wangxing's heart suddenly beat faster. This huge temptation made Wangxing's heart instantly moved. Just relying on Wangxing and heavy snow to kill the mad shark was definitely impossible. But if he added an intelligent 12th degree realm peak swordfish demonic beast, perhaps it would be possible. Don't look at the mad shark's size. If it was kissed by a high-speed swordfish, it would probably be enough to make it suffer. Wang Sheng was very clear that the mad shark definitely had some means to avoid or resist the swordfish's attack. Otherwise, with the swordfish's speed, if it took the initiative to attack, the mad shark simply wouldn't be able to avoid it. So, the focus of Wang Sheng's pondering was how to provide a suitable opportunity for the swordfish demonic beast. Relying on the legendary realm, Wang Sheng and heavy snow, even if they were to add up 10 times, it would still be impossible to kill the 12th degree realm peak mad shark. Wrong. When Wang Sheng was observing, he once again found an anomaly. He was in the air, with a wide range of vision and excellent eyesight. He soon discovered that in this sea area, there was not only one swordfish demonic beast that had reached an agreement with him. Dozens of miles away, there were 2 more swordfish, together with the one below, forming a triangular formation, surrounding the mad shark in the middle. In this range, it was obvious that the mad shark had not discovered this, and the 2 swordfish demonic beasts seemed to be waiting for some kind of signal quietly approaching, but from time to time they would come out of the water, as if deliberately to let Wang Sheng and White Snow see clearly in the air. After discovering these 2 swordfish demonic beasts, Wang Sheng was more and more sure that this was a trap for the mad shark. Originally, if there was only one swordfish demonic beast, Wang Sheng was still worried about success. But now that there were 3 swordfish demonic beasts, there was more than a 60% chance of success. What made Wang Sheng even more tempted was that the swordfish demonic beast itself knew that if 3 swordfish demonic beasts were dispatched to deal with the mad shark, it could be imagined that the realm of the mad shark must be at least 1 level higher than the swordfish demonic beast. In other words, it was at least at the 13th degree realm. In a blink of an eye, Wang Sheng thought of a plan. Looking at the 3 swordfish demonic beasts and the mad shark demonic beast below, Wang Sheng quickly communicated with Heavy Snow, and then Heavy Snow began to shout in a big circle. Snow Carving's shout immediately attracted the attention of the 4 super demon beasts in the sea. With the 4 of them present, the demon beasts within 100 miles all fled or concealed their breath, making Heavy Snow's shout exceptionally conspicuous. Wang Sheng could clearly see that the 2 swordfish demonic beasts in the distance had begun to speed up and immediately understood that they were ready to attack. Patting Heavy Snow's back, Heavy Snow instantly turned into a white light, rapidly descending, flying along the sea surface, his claws already aimed at the triangular dorsal fin of the mad shark. Chapter 1501. Although Mad Shark was in the water, it was very close to the surface. Heavy Snow's roar had already alerted it, and it had already separated a trace of its breath to monitor the movements in the air. However, Mad Shark was the king of the ocean, and perhaps in this area, no seabirds would dare to provoke it. However, Heavy Snow did not live in this area, and Mad Shark had never seen it before. It had no idea how fast Heavy Snow was. It was the overlord of the sky that was even faster than the swordfish monster it had seen. Wang Sheng could not hear any sound behind him, because Heavy Snow's speed had already exceeded the speed of sound. According to Wang Sheng's experience of flying a jet fighter on Earth, its current speed was at least Mach 3. The sharp eagle claws accurately grabbed the diving triangular dorsal fin. As Wang Sheng had expected, Heavy Snow's sharp claws were simply unstoppable. It directly scratched through Mad Shark's triangular dorsal fin and directly took away a piece of flesh the size of a person. At the same time, it also triggered a crazy counterattack under the sea. The dorsal fin rapidly dived, losing a large piece of flesh, and the surrounding water instantly turned blood red. However, more than 30 meters away from the dorsal fin, a huge shark head broke through the water, opened its bloody mouth, and bit towards Heavy Snow's shadow. Wang Sheng was waiting for this opportunity. He was on Heavy Snow's back, and he had already prepared the heavy sniper crossbow. Seeing Mad Shark's big head emerge from the sea, he aimed an arrow at the shark's huge eye. For this arrow, Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow took great risks and flew diagonally from Mad Shark's left rear to right front. Mad Shark's movement was extremely fast, and its horrifying big mouth was only a few meters away from biting Heavy Snow's tail. At such a close distance, even in the high-speed state of Mach 3, Wang Sheng's heavy arrow could not miss. Almost as soon as the heavy arrow left the heavy sniper crossbow, it hit Mad Shark's right eye. No matter how high Mad Shark's level was, or how strong it was, its eyes could be said to be the weakest part of its body. This was determined by the evolution of nature. The Mad Shark could only strengthen itself, but it could not change. But no matter how strong the Mad Shark was, its fragile eyes couldn't withstand an arrow from the heavy sniper crossbow at such close range. Pooh! The heavy arrow instantly penetrated the outermost layer of the shark's right eye. Although it was immediately blocked by the spiritual energy naturally gushing out of the shark's body, causing it to lose speed, it had already penetrated no less than 5 inches into the shark's eye. This size was enough to cause the arrowhead to explode. Boom! The heavy arrow accurately exploded on the dura membrane of Mad Shark's eye, directly blasting a small hole in his right eye. The pit was very small, and the power of the explosion was immediately enveloped by Mad Shark's powerful body and spiritual energy, so it didn't cause a very large wound. But for the eyes, such a small dent was enough. The body of the Mad Shark paused in the air for a moment, and then heavily smashed into the sea, splashing water more than 10 meters high. Then, the Mad Shark quickly disappeared in the sea, leaving only a blood stain and splashing white foam, indicating that a huge monster had just appeared here. Wang Sheng didn't dare to neglect. From the behavior of that swordfish demon beast, he could see that all the demon beasts at their level were simply like spirits and were terrifyingly shrewd. He didn't think that the Mad Shark was seriously injured when it fell into the water, so he desperately urged the heavy snow to increase the altitude. On the sea, the safest place was thousands of feet in the air. At this height, no demon beast could reach it. Even those big guys with longer tentacles were the same, so it was very safe. With the help of the scope, Wang Sheng carefully scanned the sea below. He didn't find any trace of the Mad Shark, but he saw 2 swordfish demon beasts in the distance had secretly approached within 10 miles. At that distance, they stopped and slowly circled. Wang Sheng dared to swear with his own head that if these 3 swordfish demon beasts didn't have wisdom, he was willing to throw himself into the bloody mouth of the Mad Shark. The 3 swordfish demon beasts didn't leave, so the Mad Shark must still be below. Wang Sheng once again made the heavy snow issue a long roar, and once again flew down at high speed. Wang Sheng had no way to deal with the Mad Shark in the water, so he could only take the risk of luring it out of the sea. The speed at which the Mad Shark disappeared made Wang Sheng realize that the speed of the Mad Shark might not be as slow as it looked. Therefore, it could be said that the lure of the Mad Shark was simply putting his head to work, and if he was not careful, he would become the nourishment of the Mad Shark together with the heavy snow. Wang Sheng believed that the heavy snow had grabbed a large piece of flesh from Wang Sheng's body and had definitely succeeded in attracting the attention of the Mad Shark. Using a phrase from the earth to describe it, it had definitely succeeded in attracting the hatred. Heavy snow flew at a high speed 100 meters above the sea, trying to find the position of the Mad Shark. After flying in circles for a full 10 minutes, it seemed that he hadn't found anything, as if the Mad Shark had already completely left the area. Of course, Wang Sheng didn't lack patience, and continued to make the heavy snow fly in circles to find the Mad Shark. This search went on for another half an hour, but still nothing. After a long period of no movement, it seemed that Wang Sheng and heavy snow had relaxed their vigilance, and the speed at which heavy snow was circling also slowed down a lot. The slower the speed, the clearer Wang Sheng could see. At least that was what Wang Sheng was doing. At the same time, he didn't forget to use the heavy sniper crossbow to make it look like he was ready to launch an attack at any time, and wouldn't stop until he reached his goal, perfectly playing the role of a hothead. More than 10 minutes later, as he flew over a calm sea that did not give off any dangerous aura, Wang Sheng suddenly sensed an indescribable danger. This wasn't some kind of spiritual aura detection, and it wasn't something he saw or heard. It was purely Wang Sheng's intuition towards danger as a top-level warrior. In an instant, Wang Sheng gave Heavy Snow the idea that the danger was about to rise. Heavy Snow and Wang Sheng had a tacit understanding, and in the blink of an eye, the state of flying horizontally suddenly became vertical, both wings flapping madly, and quickly flew upwards. At the same time, the sea below silently split open, and all the seawater at this moment seemed to be pushed away by an invisible force. A grayish-blue figure suddenly rushed up from below, like an arrow shot from a bow, shooting towards Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow. The tens of meters long body turned into a sharp arrow. It was simply unbelievable. The unique skill of controlling the seawater silently also made Wang Sheng, who saw this scene from above, finally understand what the mad shark had that could make the swordfish monsters so afraid. Powerful strength coupled with this move, it was simply invincible. A strange scene appeared in the sky. The snow carried Wang Sheng and rose vertically. Behind them, the shark, which was dozens of meters long, opened its bloody mouth and chased after them. It was as if it wanted to swallow the man and bird in front of it in one bite. Chapter 1502. Wang Sheng grabbed a long feather on Heavy Snow's back with one hand and held a heavy sniper crossbow in the other, aiming at Mad Shark's right eye below. Just as the heavy arrow shot out, Wang Sheng saw Mad Shark's right eye that was shot an hour ago. There should have been a small hole in that right eye, but now Wang Sheng did not see it. Mad Shark's right eye was intact, without the slightest injury. Self-recovery? Wang Sheng was shocked. In just 1 hour, the eye injury was completely healed. This ability was probably one of the important reasons why the swordfish monster was defeated. Even if they could hurt Mad Shark, but Mad Shark had this kind of self-recovery ability, they would always be at a disadvantage. The heavy arrow once again accurately shot into Mad Shark's right eye, but this time it was obvious that Mad Shark was fully prepared. There was a layer of tough water film outside his eyes, helping Mad Shark to block the heavy arrow. Even the explosion of the arrowhead was wrapped in that layer of water film, did not hurt Mad Shark. In the next moment, behind Heavy Snow, 7 square wooden boxes appeared. These were thrown out by Wang Sheng from the storage ring. The snow flew straight up, and the Mad Shark opened its mouth wide and jumped straight up. The two of them happened to be in a straight line, and the 7 wooden boxes fell right into the Mad Shark's open mouth. Fly, Heavy Snow. Wang Sheng on Heavy Snow's back almost roared, watching Mad Shark's open mouth getting closer and closer, as if it would bite them in the next moment. All of Big Snow's potential had been stimulated by this moment of life and death, and the speed at which it was rising increased even further. Not even a second after Wang Sheng finished shouting boom, it was as if a bomb had gone off beside him, and his entire body shuddered violently. The countless sharp teeth behind him seemed to stop for a moment, then began to move further and further away. Wang Sheng's ears could no longer hear any sound behind him. At this moment, Wang Sheng's face finally showed a smile. The violent tremor he felt just now was the sound of Heavy Snow breaking through the sound barrier. When Heavy Snow reached this speed, no matter how fast Mad Shark jumped, it would be impossible for him to catch up. The Mad Shark was tens of meters long and weighed tens of tons. It might be able to reach its top speed in the water, but in the air, the speed of Heavy Snow was 10 streets behind it. At supersonic speed, Wang Sheng couldn't hear what was happening behind him, but he could see what was happening behind him. That huge Mad Shark leaped more than 100 feet from the water, more than 300 meters high. It was simply frightening. When it reached the highest point in the air, it widened its eyes in dissatisfaction and started to descend. All of a sudden, Mad Shark spat out a huge ball of flame from its mouth. In an instant, it covered Wang Sheng's line of sight, blocking Mad Shark's huge body. There was no sound because the speed of the Heavy Snow was faster than sound. But Wang Sheng seemed to have expected all this and very calmly enjoyed it. He and Heavy Snow were already at a safe altitude, and there was no danger to their lives. The 7 wooden boxes just now were Wang Sheng's remaining stock of black gunpowder. Each box weighed 200 caddies, a total of 1,400 caddies. Wang Sheng had already set up the detonation device. From the time he threw it out, it would explode 3 seconds later. The explosion just now was exactly on time. After heavy snow reached a certain height, it no longer rose at supersonic speed, but changed to a level flight. At this time, Wang Sheng heard the roar of the explosion coming from below. Mad Shark was very strong, absolutely valiant, and it could also control the seawater. In the sea, other than a few demonic beasts that were bigger than it, Mad Shark was at the top of the food chain. Even the 12th-stage realm swordfish demonic beast could not hurt it at all. However, being valiant in the sea did not mean that its mouth was able to withstand the explosion of 1,400 caddies of black gunpowder. The spectacular explosion directly occurred from the tongue to the throat and esophagus of Mad Shark. In the black gunpowder, Wang Sheng also added a large number of sharp fragments and thin blades. The power of the explosion was enough to kill all living things within a radius of 200 meters. At the moment of the explosion, tens of thousands of various fragments and thin blades, under the huge propelling force of the explosion, pierced into the delicate skin and flesh of Mad Shark's endoderm. Mad Shark's body swayed wildly in the air for a few times. Its painful look made even Wang Sheng feel pain for it. Unfortunately, sharks did not have any vocal organs. Even if it was in extreme pain, there was no way to make a sound. It could only twist its body in pain and fall into the sea below. It must be said that Mad Shark's vitality was simply shocking. This kind of explosion only caused it to continue suffering for a few seconds. Before it fell back into the sea, Wang Sheng sensed that Mad Shark's berserk aura had locked onto him. This fellow 1,400 caddies of black gunpowder explosion was actually not a big deal. Wang Sheng could not help but smile bitterly. This time, he had really attracted the hatred of the Mad Shark. Perhaps in front of the swordfish demon beast, Mad Shark would kill him first. At this moment, Wang Sheng was also looking forward to this step. What would the 3 swordfish demon beasts do? Just when Wang Sheng was looking forward to it, a black light suddenly shot out from the sea. It was also faster than the speed of sound. Like a sharp arrow, it shot into the exposed belly of Mad Shark in the air. That black light flickered and entered the belly of Mad Shark, and immediately flashed out from the back of Mad Shark, directly penetrating the Mad Shark. After the first black light, it was followed by the second one. The target was also the belly of Mad Shark in the air, and it was also penetrated in an instant. Mad Shark's body was penetrated twice in a row. The penetrating force from the bottom to the top was so strong that the body of Mad Shark, which weighed dozens of tons, unexpectedly stopped in the air. The 2 black lights were, of course, the 2 swordfish demon beasts. They had shot out from the sea at an extremely fast speed, and their long and sharp mouths were even more terrifying than the sharp arrows. The timing was simply perfect. It was just when Mad Shark had jumped out of the water and was unable to control the seawater to protect himself. Moreover, there was no place for him to borrow strength, and he was unable to exert his strength. Just like 2 peerless assassins, they had launched their respective fatal attacks at the most appropriate time. Mad Shark's body paused for a moment, and then once again fell down. Wang Sheng could clearly see that Mad Shark had suffered 2 penetrating injuries which, in Wang Sheng's opinion, were already fatal. However, Mad Shark was still not dead, and its body was still twisting, and the aura exuding from its body was getting more and more violent. Confrontation. Wang Sheng's 7 words formula sounded at this time, and it directly resounded throughout the world. Mad Shark was already incomparably violent, but after being stimulated by Wang Sheng's confrontation formula, it directly lost its rationality and entered into a state of madness. Seeing that Mad Shark was about to fall into the sea, Wang Sheng was still curious about the movements of the 3rd swordfish demon beast. At this time, the 3rd black light shot out from the sea and shot towards Mad Shark's heart. Chapter 1503. The moment Mad Shark fell into the water, it was the moment when it reached its highest speed. The 3rd swordfish, which had been accelerating under the water for a long time, pierced into Mad Shark's body at this moment. Regardless of whether it was a human or Mad Shark, the heart was a fatal point. But at this moment, Mad Shark was in the air. His body, which weighed tens of tons, had been twisted in the air for a long time, had been pierced twice by two swordfish, and had been attacked by Wang Sheng's 7-word formula and black gunpowder. His spiritual qi was almost depleted, and he was at the delicate moment when he had used up all his strength. He no longer had the strength to move his body to dodge, nor could he summon his spiritual qi to defend himself. This part was not like the unprotected part of the stomach. There were not only sternum, but also a large number of ribs. The third swordfish did not directly penetrate Mad Shark's body like the first two. Instead, it plunged into Mad Shark's chest and was firmly nailed inside. Wang Sheng attacked with the 7 words formula again. This time, it was not to disturb Mad Shark's mind, but the reverse application of the soldier formula to prevent Mad Shark's body from recovering. Previously, Mad Shark's right, "I was as good as new within an hour," which left a deep impression on Wang Sheng. At this moment, if he could delay Mad Shark's recovery for a while, it would give the 3 swordfish more opportunities to kill Mad Shark. Boom! A huge splash of water rose up. Mad Shark was pushed by the huge momentum in the air for a moment, and then fell into the sea together with the swordfish that was wedged in his body. 2 splashing sounds were heard. It was the sound of the 2 swordfish in the air, adjusting their bodies and shooting into the sea like arrows. Not only did their slender bodies not cause too much noise, but even the splashing was done perfectly. The diving score was absolutely perfect. The sea kept rolling, and a large area of blood appeared on the surface. Wang Sheng looked down from above and could no longer see the figures of the 4 huge monsters. However, the blood in the seawater would bloom every few seconds, and it was abnormally beautiful. Wang Sheng understood that this was the swordfish jumping into the water, not letting go of such a rare opportunity, and madly attacked and strangled Mad Shark. These fellows, their timing was really ingenious. Who knew how long they had been suffering for? And this time, they had gotten their revenge all at once. When he saw the 4th blood flower bloom, Wang Sheng knew that the 3 swordfish would definitely win. This kind of injury was beyond Mad Shark's control. Just the fact that it couldn't even resist the swordfish's attack in the sea was enough to explain everything. The turbulence under the water finally stopped. Wang Sheng and Ashue flew at a height of 500 meters, circling and looking down. Judging from the speed at which the swordfish emerged from the water, Wang Sheng could tell that this height was safe enough for him and heavy snow. It wasn't that Wang Sheng was a petty person, but it was necessary to be wary of others. The swordfish's intelligence was displayed incisively and vividly in their joint attack. Wang Sheng didn't want to help them kill Mad Shark and fly low enough to be killed by a casual attack. Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow were only in the legendary realm, which was 2 big realms lower than the swordfish demonic beasts. Any one of them could easily kill both of them, and it would be courting death if they weren't careful. After all, without Mad Shark, the 3 swordfish demonic beasts might be the rulers of this sea. They could completely ignore the agreement with Wang Sheng and directly attack Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow. For demonic beasts, what was integrity and morality? 5 minutes later, Mad Shark's huge body floated to the surface of the sea, with its belly facing upwards. On it were 9 shocking big holes. There was 1 on the heart, 6 on the abdomen, and 2 on the neck. The size of each hole was more than 10 feet, which was very suitable for the 3 swordfish. The 3 swordfish demonic beasts also floated to the surface, and one of them was the injured swordfish demonic beast that had made an agreement with Wang Sheng. At this moment, it was shaking its head up and down, seemingly making Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow lower their altitude. Wang Sheng was afraid that they would suddenly slow down underwater and jump into the air to attack him and Heavy Snow. But since they had floated to the surface, Wang Sheng felt a lot more relieved. Acceleration still needed a certain amount of time and distance, so they were doing this to show their attitude. So smart. Patting Heavy Snow's back, Wang Sheng let Heavy Snow descend to a height of 50 meters. It was relatively safe at this height, and they could communicate without being affected. With Heavy Snow's acceleration, he could reach supersonic speed within a second, so no matter how fast the swordfish was, it was impossible for them to be faster than Heavy Snow in the air. "Leave the head, dorsal fin, and caudal fin for me," Wang Sheng shouted at the three swordfish demonic beasts with the 7-word formula. And at the same time, his thoughts were also transmitted, "Give me all the bones, and part of the meat too." The frenzy shark was suddenly attracted by the swordfish demonic beasts, and this was not within the scope of the agreement. So Wang Sheng made the request boldly, without any intention of being polite. The dorsal fin and pectoral fin of the frenzy shark did not have much meat, and for the demonic beasts, it was not the most exquisite part of the food. However, Wang Sheng had already begun to drool. Such a big shark fin, if he were to let it go, wouldn't it be a reckless waste of God's gift? The taste of shark meat was average, at least for the sharks on Earth. Moreover, because of the metabolism of sharks, there was ammonia in the shark meat, and the taste was very disgusting. If it was not handled well, it could not be eaten. Unless the culinary skills were good, it could be handled very well. However, Wang Sheng did not want the meat for himself and Aki to eat, but for Heavy Snow. Heavy Snow had eaten all the squid tentacles whose spiritual chi had begun to dissipate, and also ate a lot of sea fish, and was almost on the verge of upgrading. This fresh frenzy shark meat might be able to help Heavy Snow upgrade as soon as possible. The more severe the Heavy Snow was, the safer Wang Sheng and Aki would be. The head of the frenzy shark was also of little value to the swordfish demonic beasts, and it would be a pity to abandon it. However, for Wang Sheng, it was simply the best thing that could only be found by chance. Not long ago, when the frenzy shark opened its mouth and was about to bite Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow, Wang Sheng saw the hundreds of sharp teeth in the frenzy shark's bloody mouth. Those were the best raw materials for making heavy arrows that were comparable to the long mouth of the swordfish. Wang Sheng's desire for a swordfish's kiss was merely a subconscious thought. He had forgotten that the shark's teeth were just as sharp, perhaps even sharper. As for the shark bone, it was only when Wang Sheng saw the frenzy shark that he thought of it. The shark bone was hollow and had excellent elasticity. Moreover, this was the bone of the 13th stage realm frenzy shark. Perhaps it was more suitable to make the crossbow arm than some 14th stage realm demonic beast bones. After all, what Wang Sheng wanted was excellent elasticity, and not hardness or anything else. It was not a bad thing to have another choice. The three swordfish demonic beasts obviously understood Wang Sheng's meaning, and swam a few laps on the surface of the sea. Perhaps it was their unique way of communication. Very soon, Wang Sheng received the first swordfish demonic beast thoughts. Deal. Chapter 1504. The three swordfish demonic beasts' execution ability was astonishing. Wang Sheng had just reached an agreement with them when the three swordfish impatiently rushed forward, crazily dividing up the giant mad shark's corpse. Their sharp snout was like a long knife. In just a few minutes, they had dissected the several tons and several meters long mad shark. They were simply a group of top chefs in the ocean. The swordfish dissected the shark. It was so clean that it made people afraid. Wang Sheng wanted the shark head, the shark bones, the dorsal fin, and the tail fin, as well as the several tons of shark meat. They were left in the same place. The rest were all swallowed by the swordfish demonic beasts. Then, the three swordfish demonic beasts swung their tails and disappeared into the vast sea. Before disappearing, the injured swordfish demonic beasts gave Wang Sheng a thought. Tomorrow, they would bring the things Wang Sheng wanted. When the swordfish completely disappeared, Wang Sheng could not feel their aura, even from the surface of the water. Wang Sheng jumped onto the shark skull. Big Snow, on the other hand, happily grabbed the large piece of shark meat and swung it around in the air while eating heartily. Taking out 2 soul tablets, when he tried to collect the mad shark source spirit, Wang Sheng discovered that the mad shark source spirit was gone. He did not know if it had been too long or if it had been absorbed by the swordfish, but in short, it was gone. But fortunately, The things that Wang Sheng wanted were still there. Wang Sheng only wanted the shark teeth, the skull, and other things like that were useless to Wang Sheng. This mad shark had more than 300 sharp teeth. Each one was longer than Wang Sheng's leg and thicker than his thigh. With this many shark teeth, it was enough for Wang Sheng to make many powerful arrowheads. These shark teeth were unexpectedly sharp. Wang Sheng's heavy arrows were directly bounced off the shark's skull, but Wang Sheng held a large tooth and easily nailed it into the shark's skull. Those old fellows who had unlocked their seals were fortunate to be able to taste the attack of a weapon made of materials that surpassed the legendary realm. The entire skeleton of the mad shark was too big. It was given to Wang Sheng, but Wang Sheng could not take much of it with him. He could only choose the parts that he needed the most. A portion of the ribs and a portion of the spine had already filled up several of the largest storage rings. As for the rest, Wang Sheng picked a batch of big fish bones and stuffed them into the gap. As for the rest, Wang Sheng could only give up. He had no choice. He couldn't bring them away. Wang Sheng did not give up on the dorsal and caudal fins. These were top-notch shark fins. After coming to the sea a few times, eating only fish seemed to be a fly in the ointment. These two big shark fins were enough to make up for the regret. Heavy Snow had eaten almost all of the meat. He looked particularly energetic and excited. Wang Sheng did not delay much and directly let Heavy Snow carry him and the two big shark fins back to the island. As soon as he returned to his residence, Heavy Snow immediately flew into his nest. Before Aki could ask what had happened, a huge amount of spiritual chi of heaven and earth began to gather on Heavy Snow's body. Sure enough, Heavy Snow had been on the verge of a breakthrough for many days. After eating a few tons of mad shark meat today, it directly stimulated Heavy Snow to cross that bottleneck and began to temper his body with spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Put these away. Wang Sheng handed the two big shark fins to Aki and said, "Dry them. They are top-notch delicious." Aki looked speechlessly at the two huge triangular fins that Wang Sheng had placed on the ground. The small one was more than 3 feet long, and the big one was more than 5 feet long. There was still fresh blood on it, and it was obviously freshly killed. Such a big guy. How did Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow kill it? Waiting for the time when Heavy Snow's spiritual chi of heaven and earth to temper his body, Wang Sheng took out a very exaggerated shark bone and carefully tested it. The fish bone was very light, and compared to the metal of Wang Sheng's heavy sniper crossbow, its density was a lot smaller. This fish bone was about the thickness of Wang Sheng's arm and the length of Wang Sheng's 2 arms. This was still a relatively small one. Wang Sheng was most concerned about the elasticity of the bones, so he came up to test the elasticity. With both hands holding the 2 ends of the fish bone, Wang Sheng began to pull it in the middle, like pulling a spring arm. In the beginning, Wang Sheng only used less than 1,000 pounds of strength, but this fish bone did not bend at all. Wang Sheng secretly rejoiced and slowly began to increase his strength. From 1,000 pounds all the way to 10,000 pounds of strength, the shark bone slowly bent into a not very big arc. As he continued to increase his strength, the fish bone slowly became more and more curved. However, even when Wang Sheng used his greatest strength, this small shark bone did not turn into a semicircle. But after reaching this arc, this small fish bone did not have the slightest sign of breaking, and as soon as he let go, it immediately bounced back. Just like what Wang Sheng had heard in the rumors, the shark bone was extremely elastic. This time, Wang Sheng was pleasantly surprised. One must know that the current Wang Sheng was no longer the 3rd stage Wang Sheng who had just completed the Swanee transformation, but had reached the 10th stage of the legendary realm. Every time Wang Sheng had a breakthrough, the strength of his body and physical strength would correspondingly increase. When he had just completed the Swanee transformation, Wang Sheng had almost tens of thousands of pounds of strength. Now, when Wang Sheng used his arms with full strength, he could definitely reach 100,000 pounds. Not to mention anything else, Wang Sheng had to use the lever principle of the string loader to load the heavy sniper crossbow, and he also had to use all his strength. Now, using the string loader was easy, and even in a desperate situation, Wang Sheng could use the strength of his waist and abdomen to forcibly pull the string. But this fish bone had reached such an elastic strength. This was the smallest fish bone. If it was replaced with a bigger one, or if he used the rib part, what kind of elasticity would it have? If these bones were engraved with a strengthening formation, what would happen? The materials for the crossbow arm and the heavy arrows were available. The strengthening of the heavy sniper crossbow could be said to be just around the corner. In addition to the heavy sniper crossbow, thinking of so many shark bones in the storage ring, Wang Sheng did not know how to use them for a while. In short, any one of them was a peerless treasure, and this one was rich. Heavy Snow's advancement only lasted for an hour, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth began to dissipate. Demon beasts were demon beasts. In the tempering of nature, they must use this kind of rapid advancement method, and then continue to enhance their strength for a long time to ensure that they would not be attacked and killed in the process of advancement. After the advancement, Heavy Snow could not hide its excitement and excitedly spun in circles in the air. If it were not for Wang Sheng's call, it would not have stopped. Heavy Snow, who had just advanced, had not yet learned to hide his aura. Wang Sheng and Aki could sense the movement of Aki's crazy absorption of the surrounding spiritual energy from the ground. It was certain that after the advancement, Heavy Snow's speed was faster and its lethality was stronger. Correspondingly, when trading with the swordfish demon beast, Wang Sheng would be safer. The appointed time was tomorrow morning. Wang Sheng and Aki seized the time to rest and recover. Heavy Snow also carefully felt the new power in his nest, absorbing spiritual energy and enhancing his strength. Early the next morning, Wang Sheng and Heavy Snow once again flew to the sea area. Who knew what kind of surprise that swordfish demon beast would bring to Wang Sheng? Chapter 1505. When he once again flew above the ocean, Wang Sheng could clearly sense that something was different. Yesterday, when Wang Sheng went into the sea, he could sense the aura of all kinds of fish and demonic beasts in the sea. But now, when Wang Sheng flew over the sky, he could not feel any lively aura, as if the sea had turned into a dead sea overnight. Obviously, this was impossible, so there was only one explanation. The three swordfish demonic beasts were already here, which scared the rest of the weaker demonic beasts away quickly, diving into the bottom of the sea or hiding in the corals, hiding their aura, not daring to move at all. "I'm coming," Wang Sheng shouted down. At the same time, his shout was mixed with the 7-word formula, clearly conveying his meaning. As soon as Wang Sheng's voice fell, in an area below, 3 swordfish demonic beasts quietly floated up. To Wang Sheng's surprise, the 2 uninjured swordfish each had a huge bone in their mouth. One of them was the long mouth of a swordfish, which Wang Sheng had been dreaming of, and the other one looked very thick, but he could not recognize the bone of some demonic beast. The empty swordfish still had a huge wound on its body, but the wound was much better than it had been yesterday. Although it had not fully recovered, there was no trace of blood, and its recovery was very good. Thinking about it, the meat of the mad shark yesterday was very nourishing, which made the swordfish demonic beast recover a lot. Just by looking at this posture, the swordfish demonic beast was still very careful. At least it kept its word, and did not lie to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng let Heavy Snow fly above the injured swordfish demonic beast, and then jumped down. The height was not high, so Wang Sheng directly jumped to the side of the swordfish, and as soon as he entered the water, he reached out and touched the long mouth of the swordfish. The other 2 swordfish also swam over quickly, and they gave Wang Sheng the idea to let Wang Sheng accept the long mouth and the big bone in their mouth. Wang Sheng came out of the water and whistled. Heavy Snow flew over, stretched out his claws, grabbed the 2 bones, and quickly flew into the distance. Using the 7-word formula on the swordfish demonic beast would require a lot of time. Wang Sheng was sure that before he completely healed the swordfish demonic beast, his own safety was still guaranteed. Heavy Snow didn't have to keep an eye on him at all times. He had to send the things back first. For an entire day, Wang Sheng rode on the body of the swordfish and continuously used the 7-word formula on the swordfish demonic beast to speed up the healing of its injuries. Of course, Wang Sheng wasn't just working without any benefits. At least when he was constantly using the 7 words formula, Wang Sheng could also probe the body condition of the super swordfish demonic beast and the way its spiritual qi circulated. Although most of the things were useless to Wang Sheng, at least he could have a better understanding of an expert at this level. The more he recovered, the faster the wound healed. The most difficult part of stopping the bleeding had been completed yesterday. In addition to the mad shark meat, a portion of the wound had recovered. Today, Wang Sheng was exceptionally efficient when he used the 7-word formula. Of course, this was also related to the fact that Wang Sheng was on the surface of the sea. After all, he was in the deep sea yesterday. It was already very difficult for Wang Sheng to maintain the pressure and breath. It wasn't as easy as it was today. The efficiency had also increased by at least 2 times. Yesterday, Wang Sheng had only used it for half a day and was already exhausted. But today, after using it for a whole day, he wasn't as tired as yesterday. The swordfish demonic beast had a very comfortable day. Every few minutes, it would get a full-body spiritual qi massage. It was so comfortable that it could go to heaven. The wound had already recovered by close to 80%, which surprised Wang Sheng a little. As expected of a powerful demonic beast, if this kind of wound was placed on a human's body, Aki would need at least half a month to recover. Moreover, it was Wang Sheng who had given her an injection to stimulate her life potential. Even this Aki had been in a coma for 10 days before she woke up. But the swordfish demonic beast was actually able to avoid the mad shark's pursuit in that kind of situation. After recovering a little, it dared to bet that Wang Sheng would be able to cooperate with them to kill the mad shark. It was really amazing. The swordfish demonic beast that Wang Sheng was on guard against did not burn the bridge after crossing the river. Sometimes, Wang Sheng thought that he was also looking for trouble. Although demonic beasts didn't have any integrity or morality, their brains were relatively simple. As long as they didn't consider you as an enemy, they would not have any deceitful thoughts. On the contrary, it was Wang Sheng who had acted as a villain in vain. During this period, the other 2 swordfish demonic beasts also gave Wang Sheng 2 giant clams from the bottom of the sea. Wang Sheng didn't hesitate to accept it with a smile. These 2 giant clams had a radius of 2 zhang, and each of them was a big guy that weighed several tons. Wang Sheng still made heavy snow fly twice and sent them to the island for Aki to deal with. Such a big guy was definitely a powerful demonic beast. However, as long as it was out of the water, it would be at the mercy of others. On the island, Aki could easily deal with it by herself. In short, there was good food to eat, pure seafood. If there is an opportunity, let's cooperate again. The wound had recovered by 80%. Basically, there was no need for Wang Sheng to work hard anymore. Wang Sheng saw that heavy snow had already flown over to pick him up. He stretched out his hand and patted the body of the swordfish demonic beast. He said something to it. Then he stretched out his hand and grabbed the claws of heavy snow and flew from the sea to the sky. The swordfish demonic beast sprinted back and forth in the water at high speed, as if it was saying goodbye. After watching Wang Sheng and heavy snow fly higher and higher and fly further and further away, the swordfish demonic beast also slowly submerged into the water. After returning to the island, Aki gave Wang Sheng a plate of giant clam sashimi. It was so delicious that he wanted to swallow his own tongue. At the same time, he swallowed a stream of spiritual qi that was as warm as water. It was as if it was nourishing his whole body, and it made Wang Sheng's exhaustion of the whole day sweep away. After eating his fill, Wang Sheng couldn't wait to run to the side of that long tongue. This was the remains of a swordfish demonic beast that had died for God knows how long. It had been soaked in the sea for God knows how long. Its roots were already covered with all kinds of small shellfish, barnacles, and the like. It looked very rough. However, the front 5 feet was completely bare and there was nothing on it. It was a very strange phenomenon. Wang Sheng didn't say anything and directly reached out to touch the front part of the spikes. Just as his finger touched the spikes, Wang Sheng felt a stabbing pain in his finger. Then his source spirit space began to shake, and a swordfish demonic beast appeared out of thin air. It fiercely raised its spikes and directly stabbed at Wang Sheng's Chao Feng source spirit. The Chao Feng source spirit instantly turned into a Tao Tai and loudly dispersed. The 2,048 small Tao Tais were about to rush forward, but the swordfish source spirit seemed to have discovered its strength and turned around to escape, instantly disappearing. The stabbing pain in his finger also disappeared. When Wang Sheng held it, he only felt a cool and comfortable feeling, as well as a faint feeling of submission. It was actually a natural long tongue of the swordfish demonic beast source spirit. Wang Sheng stroked the smooth part of the sharp tongue and directly drooled. Chapter 1506. Wang Sheng had not studied the principle of the origin soul so far, but he knew that it was definitely related to self-confidence. Wang Sheng was also not clear about the principle of the soul tablet absorbing the origin soul, but this was the first time he saw a monster's origin soul remaining in its corpse after death. Humans could absorb origin souls, so could monsters. After the death of the mad shark, Wang Sheng did not collect the origin soul, which was probably because the swordfish monster was one step ahead. That year, Wang Sheng and the old Taoists were lucky enough to catch the super king cuttlefish and the super sperm whale perish together. There were no other powerful monsters around, so they took advantage of it and collected the origin soul. Wang Sheng did not know how the swordfish origin soul was left in the long kiss, but the experience just now also let him know that there was no barnacle shellfish parasitism in the front 5 feet, which should be the credit of the origin soul. Even looking at the attack posture of the origin soul, who knew how many weak monsters' origin souls have been swallowed in the sea to maintain its origin soul. He picked up a 10-pound sledgehammer and gently knocked on the back part of the long kiss. As Wang Sheng expected, the parts parasitized by the barnacle shellfish, it was estimated that the spiritual qi and something inside had been absorbed, leaving only dry bones. Therefore, Wang Sheng did not use much force, and those places turned into bone slag, without the slightest strength to speak of. He slowly knocked all the way up, and the thick parts at the back were broken and peeled off little by little. It didn't take long for only the front 5 feet long section to be left. Wang Sheng's hammer knocked on it and was directly bounced back. Holding this 5-foot long, pointed long kiss, Wang Sheng inserted it into the mountain wall. Boom! Countless gravel rolled down, but the long kiss had been firmly inserted into the mountain wall. Just now, Wang Sheng did not use spiritual qi at all, and just casually used about 100 pounds of strength, which showed the sharpness of the long kiss. Looking at this 5-foot long kiss, Wang Sheng's first thought was to make a long sword. If such a material was not used to make a long sword, it was simply a reckless waste of God's gifts. Wang Sheng did not use a sword. He only needed his tiger fang saber. But Lin Xiao needed it. The long sword she used was already rusted. If it weren't for Wang Sheng, others would probably have thrown it away. When Lin Xiao killed people, she casually broke a dead branch from a place she passed by. She did not even have a hairpin, so she used another chopstick-sized dead branch instead. Wang Sheng saw it, and although he did not say anything, he remembered it firmly in his heart. Although Lin Xiao had said that she had reached this cultivation realm by following Wang Sheng's train of thought, which stated that grass, wood, bamboo, and stone could all be used as swords, this did not mean that she could not use a sword. Yanghua was so powerful, but he was also used Yanghua soul Sheng. Yanghua soul was Sheng. Wang Sheng had always wanted to prepare a decent longsword and a top-grade hairpin for Lin Xiao. Previously, he had thought of using his M200 sniper rifle barrel to forge a longsword. The steel would definitely be of the highest quality, and it would definitely be incomparably sharp. But now, with this 5-foot long pipe, it seemed to be even more suitable than a sniper rifle barrel. The sword was 3.5 feet long, which was definitely enough. The remaining 1.5 feet was enough for Wang Sheng to make a hairpin. As soon as this thought popped up, Wang Sheng saw Aki next to him. His heart skipped a beat as he asked Aki, "How long is your favorite dagger?" 1 foot sharp blade. Aki didn't know why Wang Sheng asked that, but she still answered quickly. "That's enough." Wang Sheng was relieved. With a diameter of 1.5 feet, it would not be difficult to make a hairpin and 2 daggers. "I remember that you used 2 daggers, right?" Aki nodded and didn't say anything. She just looked at Wang Sheng in confusion. Wang Sheng smiled at her, pointed to the swordfish in his hand, and said, "I'll use this thing to make 2 suitable daggers for you." Aki still didn't say anything, but the flickering excitement in her eyes had already exposed her heart. A dagger made from such a thing must be a peerless divine weapon. Who wouldn't be tempted? Moreover, it was Wang Sheng who took the initiative to make it for her. This was more important than anything else. He tried to infuse some spiritual energy into the remaining part of the long pipe. The spiritual energy that was infused seemed to be thrown into a bottomless abyss, and it was directly swallowed. Immediately, Wang Sheng felt a comfortable feeling from the long pipe. Sure enough, the soul inside could also absorb spiritual energy. Wang Sheng was now looking forward to how magical the weapon would be. As for infusing spiritual energy, he would have to wait until the weapon was made, and then let their respective masters do it. After putting away the 5-foot-long pipe, Wang Sheng picked up another unknown beast bone. He didn't know where this bone came from, but it was about 6 to 7 feet long, and was as thick as Wang Sheng's thigh. But when Wang Sheng picked it up, he felt that it was too heavy, and he almost couldn't pick it up. Such a small size of bone seemed to be heavier than steel of the same weight. Such a thick bone, Wang Sheng tried to bend it with all his strength. In the end, there was no change in the bone, and he didn't know how elastic it was. He picked it up and smashed it against the mountain wall. The places that were smashed cracked, but there was no trace of the bone. The hardness was very high, but as for how high, Wang Sheng couldn't test it for the time being. In short, it was a good thing. Heavy Snow needed to continue to increase his strength for at least the next 3 months. Aki was also constantly improving, charging towards 8th-stage realm cultivation. Wang Sheng himself calmed down and pondered on how to forge his own heavy sniper crossbow, Lin Xiu's long sword and hairpin, and Aki's dagger. Wang Sheng brought a portion of tools with him, but these tools were related to sculpting, and for the heavy sniper crossbow, there was no way to achieve it. Especially regarding arrays, Wang Sheng's understanding was limited. He could sense the minute fluctuations of the array, but he was unable to set up the array himself. There were specializations in every field, and people didn't know everything. Wang Sheng was already heaven-defying, and if he wanted to be proficient in arrays, the heavens wouldn't allow it. Finding those grandmasters in the capital city's exquisite pavilion wasn't a problem. But the problem was that the capital city was definitely a troublesome place. If Wang Sheng appeared, the world would definitely be in chaos. Wang Sheng didn't want Mei and the rest to worry, and wouldn't give any party a reason to attack Mei, so he absolutely wouldn't go to the capital city at this time. All the large families had their own grandmasters, but Wang Sheng couldn't borrow them as well. Then, if Wang Sheng wanted to forge these things, who should he look for? Could he go to Carefree City? Or secretly look for Lao Jun Temple? While he was pondering, Wang Sheng recalled the real pavilion Master Qian of Exquisite Pavilion, whom he had killed. It seemed that after he killed Master Qian, he even plundered his storage ring. Back then he had been on the run, so he hadn't had the chance to see what was inside. The real pavilion master of Exquisite Pavilion should have a batch of top exponents who were comparable to those grandmasters in the capital city, right? Could he find them? Chapter 1507. Master Qian was very low-key when he was in the capital. He had a wide circle of friends, but he only interacted with the grandmasters in the capital. Before Wang Sheng had found a way to make money for them, although those grandmasters weren't exactly destitute. Other than the money they used to buy materials, they didn't have much left over. This could be seen from the dilapidated state of the heavenly workshop. At that time, they did not know how to make money and only knew how to bury their heads and study their skills. Master Qian interacted with these grandmasters and sometimes even pretended to ask for their help. Naturally, he could not act rich. Therefore, he did not have a storage ring on him at the beginning. It was only after he became an appraisal grandmaster that he could wear a few storage rings on him. This time, when he attacked Wang Sheng, Master Qian did not have many storage rings on him. He only had 3. He was different from Wang Sheng. He did not need to keep a lot of things on him. The water and food in the 2 storage rings were enough for Master Qian to live for 2 months. The only thing that was really valuable was the storage ring. The most important storage ring was the one that contained the least amount of items. A folding fan designed by Wang Sheng and made by the grandmasters, a token, a key that looked complicated in this world but was ridiculously simple in Wang Sheng's eyes, and an 8-element exquisite seal box. This seal box was more complicated and advanced than any seal box that Wang Sheng had seen in the market. Of course, this was only limited to this world. Compared to the super complicated safes that Wang Sheng had learned about on Earth, this 8-fold exquisite seal box was still limited to the category of intermediate mechanical locks. It did not have electricity to drive it, nor did it have a chip to encrypt it. Moreover, the method of self-destruction was simple. To Wang Sheng, this was not a problem at all. However, when Aki saw the 8-element exquisite seal box that Wang Sheng took out, she could not help but cry out in surprise. She rushed over and held it in her hands. She scrutinized it carefully and almost worshipped it. There really is an 8-element exquisite seal box in this world. Oh my God, I saw it. Seeing Aki's fangirl expression and actions, Wang Sheng could not help but facepalm. Sigh. This was the difference in knowledge. Something that looked ordinary in Wang Sheng's eyes was like a treasure to Aki. The 8-fold exquisite seal box, as the name suggested, required 8 keys to be twisted in different directions at the same time in order to open it. In the market, the highest grade Wang Sheng had ever heard of was the 6 phases exquisite seal box. He had only seen and come into contact with the 4 phases exquisite seal box. This was the first time he had seen or heard of an 8 phases exquisite seal box. There were only these 4 items: the folding fan, the token, the key, and a seal box. Needless to say, the folding fan was a weapon and a symbol of elegance. The token was used to show one's identity. The patterns on it were very detailed, and there was also the word Pavilion Master in the middle. He did not know what kind of lock the key could open. It did not seem to be one of the keys to the seal box. As for the seal box, it must contain something very important. Otherwise, there would be no need to be so cautious. For the time being, the token was useless to Wang Sheng. If he could not find the true location of the Ling Long Pavilion, no matter how precious the token was, it was just a metal token. It was useless. The key was even more useless. He did not even know where the keyhole was. Naturally, it would not be useful. The only thing that could possibly be of some use was the exquisite seal box. Duke, you can't be... Seeing Wang Sheng take the 8-fold exquisite seal box and examine it carefully, Aki suddenly thought of an inconceivable possibility. She asked in disbelief, "You can't be thinking of opening it, right? If I don't open it, how will I know what's inside?" Wang Sheng turned the exquisite seal box around to examine it as he replied, "But this is..." Aki suddenly did not know how to describe her feelings. The legendary 8-fold exquisite seal box that even all the grandmasters in the world could not open. How could her man say that it was so natural? What? Wang Sheng raised his head and asked in confusion. He had been too engrossed in his research and did not hear what Aki had asked. Aki suddenly froze and did not know how to answer. How many times had Wang Sheng performed miracles? Countless impossible things had become reality in his hands. Since all the previous things could be done, why couldn't the 8-fold exquisite seal box in front of her? I just wanted to ask you, do you need help? Achi suddenly felt relieved. Then, he turned to Wang Sheng and asked with a smile. Not at the moment. Wang Sheng smiled and reassured his woman. Looking at Aki's face, Wang Sheng had an idea. Help me make a flat table. Aki was most happy that Wang Sheng asked her to do something. This way, It would seem that she could help Wang Sheng. Hearing this, she immediately smiled and got busy. Meanwhile, Wang Sheng continued to study the exquisite seal box. No wonder it was the item used by the real exquisite pavilion lord. It was indeed a high-grade item. There was even a protective array inside. Every once in a while, the user would need to inject spiritual chi into it to maintain the array's operation. Otherwise, the array would automatically activate after the spiritual chi had been depleted to a certain extent, completely destroying the item inside. It was the same using other methods. Anyway, once the spiritual chi was depleted to a certain extent, the array would be activated mercilessly, and there was no way to stop it with the seal box's outer shell. The person who designed this simply dug out all his heart to set up this trap. The design of the 8 locks being twisted at the same time made one's eyes light up. If any of the joints were broken or forcefully broken by external force, it would instantly activate the array. Wang Sheng had just checked on the 7 words formula Xing word, and the power of the array's explosion was enough to blast a 9th-stage realm top exponent into pieces. Ingenious design, grandmaster-level craftsmanship. Wang Sheng, who had used the 7 words formula to check on the seal box's structure, was amazed. It was indeed a treasure among treasures. It was the work of a grandmaster and deserved its reputation. Aki's side prepared very quickly. Originally, there was a wooden table that she had built when Wang Sheng went out to sea. She only needed to set it up properly. Now, when Aki saw the occasional flash of admiration on Wang Sheng's face, she felt a burst of happiness in her heart. How good would it be if there were only the 2 of them in this world? Wang Sheng placed the exquisite seal box on the table and exercised his hands. He then took out 8 metal wires from his storage ring. This was specially made by Wang Sheng's old man Tai. At that time, it was also just in case, but now it came in handy. Aki's eyes widened as she carefully watched Wang Sheng's every move. She held her breath and didn't dare to make a sound, afraid that she would disturb Wang Sheng. Each of Wang Sheng's hands held a thin metal wire between his fingers. Under Wang Sheng's control, the 8 metal wires were inserted into the 8 keyholes at the same time. Was the Duke really going to open the legendary 8-fold exquisite seal box alone? Aki directly covered her mouth, afraid that she would make any sound. She carefully watched Wang Sheng's actions, and her heart was filled with anticipation. Chapter 1508. Wang Sheng's movements were very careful and meticulous. Although this 8-fold exquisite seal box was not that complicated in theory, he had to be extremely careful when operating it. If he was not careful, he would be smashed to pieces. Even if Wang Sheng was not afraid of this, the things stored inside would never see the light of day again. Kata! After Wang Sheng carefully twisted the lock for 10 minutes, Aki suddenly heard a slight clicking sound. Hearing this sound, Aki's heart suddenly tightened. 8 keys open at the same time. There should be 8 sounds, not 1. Could it be that the Duke had failed? Just as Aki was thinking if she should throw herself in front of Wang Sheng to block him behind her, a series of clicking sounds rang out. Aki's movements instantly froze in place. She had already counted in her heart. The sound just now added up to exactly 8. Phew! Wang Sheng raised his head and let out a long breath. Turning his head, he saw Aki's worried face and immediately smiled at her. It's really complicated. Wang Sheng's mouth kept on praising. The 8 mechanical locks can be so intricately linked together. Pulling one hair will cause the whole body to move, and at the same time, it can also cause the array inside to link together. It's too amazing. Aki could hear that Wang Sheng's praise was very sincere, but he said it after she had only used 10 minutes to open the 8-fold exquisite seal box without using the normal method and only using 8 metal wires. This made Aki feel that it was ridiculous, and she did not know whether to laugh or cry. If it was really so complicated and exquisite, how could it be so easy to open in 10 minutes? Aki did not know how complicated the truly complicated locks in Wang Sheng's mind were. Other than the fact that there were no arrays on Earth, in other aspects, especially in terms of design, it almost crushed this world. However, After throwing away this thought, Aki suddenly realized that her man was simply omnipotent, not to mention the miracles that she had only heard of, just the few that had happened in front of her. Riding on an epic realm snow carving, killing a mad shark that was said to be at least at the 13th stage, and obtaining the bones of 13th stage or even 14th stage demonic beast. And just now, under Aki's eyes, Wang Sheng used more than 10 minutes to use 8 metal wires to open the legendary 8-fold exquisite seal box that was said to be unlockable even if the creator himself didn't have the key. There had never been a moment when Aki trusted Wang Sheng unreservedly from the bottom of her heart. Regarding Wang Sheng's guidance on her cultivation, Aki was also more and more convinced. Not to mention that Wang Sheng told her that she could cultivate to the 14th stage of the White Tiger realm. Even if Wang Sheng told her that he could bring her to the heavens, she would not doubt it in the slightest. Oh, that's right. She had already gone to the heavens. Come, let's see what good stuff the real exquisite pavilion lord has on her that she needs to use the 8-fold exquisite seal box to store it. Wang Sheng called Aki over to take a look. At this kind of time, it was only the two of them who depended on each other for survival. So shouldn't they share the happiness together? Aki obediently walked to the table and sat down as her eyes looked at the already opened 8-fold exquisite seal box without blinking, her heart filled with an indescribable sense of pride. In this entire world, how many people had seen the 8-fold exquisite seal box with their own eyes? Not to mention that she could see the situation inside. Just this point alone was enough for Aki to be proud of for a few years. Carefully flipping open that 2 inches thick metal box's cover, Wang Sheng and Aki saw a few neatly stacked beast skins inside. Wang Sheng took out that thin stack of beast skins and kept the box into his storage ring. This was a good thing. It might come in handy in the future. As for the self-destruct array, after opening it in the right way, it would automatically be deactivated, so there's no need to worry about the spiritual energy being exhausted and exploding. The beast skins were neatly stacked. Wang Sheng carefully opened it, only to find that there were 3. The first was a map, not very detailed, which was the usual style of this world. Looking at the map, Wang Sheng directly shook his head in disdain. Wang Sheng had made so many detailed maps, but as the exquisite pavilion lord, he actually didn't know how to keep up with the times. The second piece of beast skin recorded a few things. Wang Sheng roughly looked at it, and a smile appeared on his face. This was the way to guide the next pavilion master of Linglong Pavilion on how to find the secret place of Linglong Pavilion. That map was the location of the secret place. She had to find the right person and say the correct password to enter the real secret place of Linglong Pavilion. As for that strange key, it was the key to open the secret vault of the exquisite pavilion. This beast skin also recorded in detail how to use this key to open the secret vault of the exquisite pavilion. Once the method was wrong, or a certain order was wrong, the secret vault's array would backfire. The third beast skin recorded the password of each great master's inheritance in the secret place of the exquisite pavilion. Every one of them was different, so he couldn't say the wrong one. Otherwise, he would be attacked by all the great masters in the secret place. It could be said that with these 3 beast skins, Wang Sheng could rightfully take over the whole exquisite pavilion. What Wang Sheng wanted to make before could definitely be made in the secret place of the exquisite pavilion. Wang Sheng believed that the secret place of the exquisite pavilion must be the place where the exquisite pavilion minted gold coins. Wang Sheng could roughly guess that the inheritance method of the exquisite pavilion should be recommended by the current pavilion lord, and then agreed by the 8 great masters who were in charge of the 8-fold exquisite seal box. Under the circumstances that all of them were present, the exquisite seal box would be opened together, and the records of the 3 inheritances would be handed over to the new exquisite pavilion lord. Originally, this was a very safe way. The 8-fold exquisite seal box only existed in legends. Even the exquisite pavilion itself had only made one. Outsiders might have heard of the reputation of the 8-fold exquisite seal box, like Aki, but they had never had the opportunity to see it. Who could have thought that someone could open the seal box so easily without a key? The foolproof inheritance method ended up meeting a bug level Wang Sheng, and immediately there was a loophole. He didn't know what expression the ancestors of the exquisite Pavilion Lord's ancestors would have if they knew this in the underworld. Looking back at the map carefully, Wang Sheng couldn't help smiling again. No wonder no one knew where the real exquisite pavilion was. It turned out that the secret place they chose was exactly the same as Wang Sheng's idea. They all chose a place that ordinary people couldn't reach, an island far away from the world in the vast sea. Just for this, Wang Sheng had to make a trip, not to mention that there was a brand new heavy sniper crossbow that needed to be made, as well as Lin Xiu's long sword hairpin and Aki's dagger. Taking over the exquisite pavilion was also a happy thing to think about. Chapter 1509. Right now, the island that Wang Sheng and Aki were on was still in the northern direction, taking into account the living habits of heavy snow as much as possible. However, Wang Sheng looked at the exquisite pavilion's map. The island they were on was still on the southern coast. Roughly estimating according to the irregular map scale, it was at least thousands or even tens of thousands of miles away. Recuperate for a few days, and my body will be completely healed. Wang Sheng immediately made a decision. In addition, after our shark fins are dried, we'll set off and go see what the real exquisite pavilion's secret land looks like. Aki's eyes shot out a look of longing. The exquisite pavilion's secret land could be said to be one of the most mysterious places in this world. It could even be mentioned in the same breath with the carefree city's city, Lord Manor, and the capital city's Imperial City. Of course, now there was also the capital city's Liz Hen Lane's treasury. That was also a mysterious holy land that countless people yearned for but had no chance to see at all. Such an important thing, Wang Sheng actually ranked it after the dried shark fins. It simply made people a loss whether to laugh or cry. However, Aki also understood that Wang Sheng's real reason was to let her consolidate her cultivation as much as possible. It was all for her own good. Although Wang Sheng did not say it, Aki still felt warm in her heart. A woman abandoned by the entire world. As long as she was given a little bit of life-saving straw, she could feel the warmth of this world. Moreover, with Wang Sheng's arrangement, even if Wang Sheng asked Aki to die now, Aki would also not hesitate to die. It had already been more than 2 months since they came to the island. No one knew what the outside world had changed. Wang Sheng did not care about these at all. He was just calculating when Lin Xiu would recover. Previously, Lin Xiu said half a year, then she would go back after half a year. Otherwise, if Wang Sheng returned during this period and was seen by others, it would definitely cause chaos in the world. It might affect Lin Xiu's recovery. Wang Sheng had the patience to wait. As for whether LV Wenho wanted to use some other method to secretly control Lin Xiu while she was recovering, Wang Sheng believed that as long as LV Wenho wasn't stupid, he wouldn't make such a suicidal decision. Even now, Wang Sheng didn't know how to determine Lu Wenho's position. Whether he was a friend or foe, Wang Sheng couldn't be sure. They were just waiting for Lin Xiu. Once Lin Xiu made the decision that they were enemies, Wang Sheng would not hesitate to kill LV Wenho and Ling. If not, Wang Sheng wouldn't mind continuing to cooperate with LV Wenho and continue to be friends. The big shark's fin dried very quickly, especially with the help of Wang Sheng's spirit chi to expel the water. In less than 10 days, the shark's fin met Wang Sheng's requirements. The only thing that Wang Sheng didn't realize in advance was that the vermicelli from these 2 pieces of shark's fin was a bit thick as a chopstick. When it was cooked, it didn't taste very delicious. In Aki's opinion, it wasn't even as delicious as those fresh giant clam sashimi. Habits, traditions, cognitive problems, these were things that Wang Sheng couldn't solve. On the other hand, Wang Sheng ate it comfortably, especially the little bit of unique spirit chi in the shark's fin, which made all the apertures in Wang Sheng's body throb. Aki's cultivation wasn't high enough to feel these things. After breaking the big shark's fin and putting it into the storage ring, Wang Sheng called out to Heavy Snow, and then he and Aki sat on Heavy Snow's back and flew southward. In order to avoid trouble, the flight path was always over the sea, flying dozens of miles along the coastline. Few birds could reach the height of the flight, and it was impossible to alarm anyone below. There was no danger along the way, and within a few days, they arrived near the coast marked on the map of the Pavilion of Delicacy. This was the southwest of the Yushan land, which had been separated from the mountains and forests of the Yushan land. It was a mountain range that stretched for hundreds of miles and was sparsely populated. There were humans living there, but there were no large towns or the like. Looking from the sky, there were only a few small mountain villages with dozens of people at most, which were self-sufficient in this closed mountain area. Along the way, near the seaside, there were more than a dozen small fishing villages along the way. There were not many people in each fishing village, only dozens of people. The distribution was very wide, and the distance between two fishing villages was at least dozens of miles. The map was very abstract, and Wang Sheng could only make a rough guess from the coastline in the air. This area of hundreds of miles along the way should be the location described on the map. But as to which direction it was, Wang Sheng still needed to continue to find it. After flying back and forth twice, Wang Sheng pointed to two fishing villages about 30 miles apart below with certainty and said, "These two fishing villages should be the entrance to the seaside of the Pavilion of Delicacy's secret plane." "How can you be so sure?" Aki was stunned. She looked around in the air and did not see anything unusual. How could Wang Sheng be so sure that this was the entrance? "Look over there. There's an island in the sea, not far from the two villages." Wang Sheng pointed to a small island in the sea and said, "It's more than 100 miles by sea, and it's all shallow water here. As long as you have a strong boat, you can also get on the island." "That island is the secret plane of the Pavilion of Delicacy?" Aki poked her head out from the back of Heavy Snow, looked at it, and asked doubtfully, "There are no houses on it." "That's not the secret plane of the Pavilion of Delicacy. It's just the starting point to go to the secret plane." Wang Sheng smiled and motioned Heavy Snow to fly to the island. After flying around the island twice, the two also looked carefully. The island was not big, but it was surrounded by cliffs of dozens of feet high. It was impossible for ordinary people to climb up, even if they rowed over. Was this island the starting point? Aki did not understand anyway. Wang Sheng was not surprised. Aki had never lived by the sea and did not know the mystery of the ocean. During these days on the island, Aki was in the center of the island, and it was not enough to understand the tidal changes of the ocean. At this time, it should be the high tide, so it looked like a cliff. "Think about what the Pavilion of Delicacy is best at," Wang Sheng reminded Aki. "Before there is a flying mount, what do the people of the Pavilion of Delicacy rely on to get to their secret island? Build?" Aki was very smart and immediately thought of the key. They build the strongest ship to get to the secret plane? Smart. Wang Sheng gave Aki a thumbs up. But these small fishing villages, where can you see a ship that can go far out to sea? There are flat beaches. Except for this island, there's no place to hide a big ship that can go to sea. Then why is this island not the secret plane of the Pavilion of Delicacy? Aki asked doubtfully. She still didn't fully understand. It's still the same question. What is the Pavilion of Delicacy best at? Build. Wang Sheng patiently explained. There are also minting gold coins, so there must be enough fuel in the secret plane. Either there are a lot of trees, or there are underground coal seams. If these are not available, there must be volcanoes. Obviously, there is nothing on this island. So, at most, there are secret doors under the cliffs, which can hide a big ship. When needed, they can sail to the secret plane. Let's look for it in the sea from here. Within 500 miles, there must be an island we want to find. Wang Sheng pointed to the direction of the sea. Maybe it is a volcanic island. Chapter 15:10. As soon as Wang Sheng opened his mouth, he judged that it was a volcanic island. He had seen too many volcanoes and lava in this world. The underground palace used lava to refine elixirs and medicines, and the core sealing formation of the Land of Thousand Despair used lava. It was not surprising that they used lava to make gold coins this time. Flying at an altitude of 10,000 meters at a height of 20 miles, the field of vision was extremely wide. Not long after flying in the heavy snow, the two of them saw an island high in the sky. The distance was exactly the same as the 500 miles that Wang Sheng said. Wang Sheng had been observing this sea area. These days, Wang Sheng had also accumulated a lot of experience on the sea. In this world, the sea below a depth of 1,000 meters was all shallow, where no strong monsters could grow. Obviously, this sea area fully met this condition. Without strong sea monsters, it was completely possible to travel between the coast and the island with a big ship. Aki was still excitedly guessing whether the island was a volcanic island, but Wang Sheng already had no suspense in his heart. The great conical peak on the island tells you everything. There was no smoke on the island. It looked like an extinct volcano, but there was a possibility of lava. The melting point of gold was only more than 1,000 degrees, but the melting point of lava was as high as 1,200 degrees, which could completely melt gold. How much fuel could be saved to melt gold by choosing to make the coins here? From the 3 pieces of animal skin left behind by Grandmaster Qian, Wang Sheng speculated that the final result of the inheritance of the Pavilion of Delicacy's Pavilion Master was to obtain those items. However, the process would require the appearance of at least 8 highly respected elders of the Pavilion of Delicacy. Wang Sheng had already killed the current Master of Delicacy, Master Qian. It could be said that there was already a blood feud between Master Qian and the people of Master Qian. The people of the Pavilion of Delicacy's secret land would not be polite to Wang Sheng. However, Wang Sheng also had something to rely on. In addition to the people in the secret plane, most of the great grandmasters of the Pavilion of Delicacy would basically stand on Wang Sheng's side, especially in the case that the Pavilion Master of the Pavilion of Delicacy had died. Wang Sheng did not have to worry at all that the great grandmasters in the capital would betray him. Wang Sheng didn't believe that these old men of Linglong Pavilion who stayed in the secluded area had never heard of Wang Sheng's name. As long as they knew about Wang Sheng, then Wang Sheng had given those great grandmasters a broader path to wealth and a broader direction. They would definitely know about these things. As a master of craftsmanship, how many people wouldn't be tempted by the opportunity to further improve their skills? And Wang Sheng was precisely the person who could give them this opportunity. All the great grandmasters in the capital could prove that as long as they cooperated with Wang Sheng, they would all have a new direction and development. As for the great grandmasters in the secret plane, they could only wait for the news from the capital and study behind a few familiar great grandmasters. Otherwise, they could only close themselves in their own small circle and not make progress. Which of the people who could become great grandmasters was not the leader of the industry? Would they tolerate themselves falling behind? Therefore, as long as Wang Sheng showed his identity, there was a great possibility that he would be accepted by the pure craftsmen here. What Wang Sheng wanted to bet on was that when Master Qian went to chase him in Lin Xiu last time, he brought most of his own confidant masters, and those people had been personally sent to heaven by Wang Sheng. The great grandmasters had solid craftsmanship, so their cultivation foundation was relatively solid, and it was relatively easy for them to advance. However, more than 50 people should be the limit of the Pavilion of Delicacy, right? At most, there were 10 left. Wang Sheng, together with the epic-level heavy snow, had the confidence to fight against so many masters who were not easy to deal with. As for the rest of the great grandmasters, it was easy to deal with them. When flying over, heavy snow did not use his top speed, but just flew normally. It took him an hour to fly over the volcanic island. Except for this island, there was nothing else on the sea within hundreds of miles. Only this island was the most likely secret plane of the Pavilion of Delicacy. Aki, you and heavy snow fly above. I will go down and have a look. Seeing that they had arrived, Wang Sheng told Aki. Just when Aki did not understand how Wang Sheng planned to go down and have a look, Wang Sheng had already stood up and jumped down from Aki's back. Aki was shocked. This was what Wang Sheng said himself. It was 20 miles high. How did Wang Sheng jump down? Just when she was about to rush to the edge to have a look, heavy snow under her cheered, folded his wings, and also jumped down. Jumping down from heavy snow's back was the game that Wang Sheng and the old Taoists loved to play with heavy snow when they were in the core of the place of despair. Heavy snow seemed to have returned to that time. He dived down and chased after Wang Sheng. Aki saw Wang Sheng open his body in the air, and a strange backpack appeared on his back. He descended all the way. It was not until Wang Sheng opened his parachute and floated in the air that Aki was completely relieved. Yes, the Duke could fly up to the sky with her. What was so strange about jumping down from the sky? Heavy snow let out a long sigh and flew up again. Wang Sheng landed accurately on the island. This island was not small. It had a radius of dozens of miles. However, the most suitable place to use lava was near the volcano. Therefore, Wang Sheng landed directly at the foot of the volcano. Of course, he could not choose the mouth of the volcano. Only a fool would jump into the mouth of a volcano when he knew that there might be lava. When he was still 1,000 feet in the air, Wang Sheng sensed that there was someone below. Although the island below was a volcanic island, there was still a lot of vegetation on it. There were also many tall trees. The person that Wang Sheng sensed was hiding in the forest. Of course, the cultivation of the people on the island was not high. It was very normal for Wang Sheng to discover them. The other party obviously saw Wang Sheng descending from the sky. He was probably still in shock and did not move. Wang Sheng landed easily on an open space at the foot of the mountain. He did not care that there were still people peeping in the forest not far away. He slowly closed the parachute bag and carefully folded it. Then, he stood up and faced the direction where the person was. The person in the forest knew that Wang Sheng had already known his whereabouts. He did not hide anymore and walked out openly. Wang Sheng knew that he was an old man in his 50s when he walked out of the shadow. He cupped his hands at Wang Sheng and said, "Descending from the sky, are you Duke Changsheng? I am Wang Sheng." Wang Sheng also cupped his hands at the other party and said, "May I ask if this is the Pavilion of Delicacy?" Sigh. The old man let out a long sigh. When the pavilion master left, he expected that this would happen. "Duke, please follow me. The Pavilion of Delicacy will give you an explanation." The other party already knew that he was coming, or was it arranged by Master Qian? Wang Sheng was a little surprised, but he was not afraid. He followed the old man through the forest, crossed a river, and arrived at the foot of the mountain. He moved a big stone and entered a long tunnel. "Duke, do you have the token of the pavilion master?" Seeing that the tunnel was about to end, and Wang Sheng sensed that there were many people inside, the old man leading the way suddenly asked Wang Sheng, "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."